The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're gonna hear about it.
And now, it's time for Your Blog Sucks.
On another day, come on, with these ropes tied, can we do no wrong? Now we grieve, 'cause now it's gone. Things were good when we were young. With my teeth back down, I could see the blood of 1,000 men who have come and gone. Now we grieve, 'cause now it's gone. Things were good when we were young. Is it safe to say, come on, was it right to leave? Come on, will I ever learn? Come on.
As God is my witness, Elvis, I can't remember if we were supposed to talk over that intro. It has been so long. Do you know what that is?
No, I was going to say, did we use that song way back in the day?
That is the intro. Like, that was the actual intro.
Really?
So
I remember Humble doing his thing, but I don't remember the song.
Yeah. So let's give a little context, because there's nobody... Maybe that guy, what was his name? Jay-Z or something? There's
one guy who was mad, right? He was
Rob
mad,
J
right?
was a big fan. Okay, so...
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Over a decade ago, I had this idea where we would have a spin-off series. Like, it wasn't going to be a part of Toronto Mic'd. It was going to be a spin-off series, a standalone podcast. It was going to be called Your Blog Sucks. Do you remember why I was going to call it that?
Well, because your blog sucks.
Because my brother Steve once told me, your blog sucks now, and I told you about that. Remember?
Yes, I do remember. I do remember.
Pre-podcast. And
this was before, like, it was obviously a joke. Your blog didn't suck. It sucks now, but it didn't suck before.
Don't tell Cheryl it sucks now, okay? But... You used it, and you used it, and I like the phrase "your blog sucks." And
it's a good name for a podcast.
Yeah, well,
10 years on,
I thought it would be a big fucking hit. So we recorded 10 episodes of Your Blog Sucks,
and one guy listened.
Well, at least one guy. I only know of one guy. I bet you Moose Grumpy was listening. She's on the live stream now. But that was the opening theme, because I love that song, because that's the Von Bondies, and that song was from Rescue Me. Do you remember Rescue Me?
Yes.
Okay, so that was the. That's like a post 9/11. What was Dennis Leary? He
was like a firefighter or something.
Yeah, and his brother died in 9/11 or something, and it's a New York firefighter. So I watched. Looking back, I watched this Rescue Me. That might be the last time I watched like regular TV or whatever. But
Dennis Leary's back on TV. I think. I think he has a new show. I think he has a new show.
Okay, like a network show? Is it?
I think so, yeah. Well, I'll look it up.
Well, that guy needs to be on like HBO or something so he can swear, right? Like, you don't want Dennis Leary being family friendly.
And isn't he also infamous for stealing people's material?
Possibly, yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, Bill Hicks and stuff. I remember now there's like a Bill Hicks routine he borrowed or whatever. But we all remember Asshole as a big Much Music hit.
Yeah.
Like, they would play that video all the time. I'm an asshole. And we all kind of dug it. And he had an album that was very popular called No Cure for Cancer.
Yeah.
Hold on to that C word. It's going to come back later. I'm teasing it, okay? C word's coming back. But I want to just tell the listenership that we dropped 10 episodes of Your Blog Sucks well over a decade ago. It didn't gain any traction, and I just sort of took those episodes and I decided they don't get to be a standalone feed. Nobody's fucking listening. So I'm just going to make them like bonus episodes of Toronto Mic'd, and then we moved on with our lives, right?
We did. Well, we tried to. Going Dutch. And
speaking of Lieve Fumka, she's Dutch, so that's probably
Going Dutch is an upcoming American comedy television series created by Joel Church Cooper, and it's going to be on Fox and Hulu.
Oh, it sounds like it's going to be a smash.
Oh, it's going to be
the next Modern Family.
I mean, all good shows start in January, right? It's clearly a fill-in for another shitty show that they already canceled.
Well, No Cure for Cancer. He was right about that. We're working on it. But I wanted to bring the Festivus, the annual Festivus episode. I don't know how many December 23rds you visited me, but most of them.
It's a lot of them. We should go back into the
archives,
Bonchives or Boonchives, and figure this out.
Okay. Well, maybe while we talk, Jeremy Hopkins, what are you doing for the next 10 minutes? Can you find out how many Festivus
But here, I mean, there should be some sort of celebration for number 10.
Well, this is probably at least 10, but
you think?
I wanted to bring it back to its
crazy.
roots. I think it had like, you know how like the, what do I pick on? Arts and entertainment, right? Back in our childhood, the arts and entertainment, remember when we were kids? The arts and entertainment, the A&E network was like for like, I don't know, you'd see like ballet and shit. Like, don't you remember, right?
Yeah. And then
it became like the Law and Order station or something.
Yeah, and it also Intervention. Remember they played Intervention like 24 hours a day?
But they had what's called scope creep. This is very common. Like the History Channel starts off being all about Hitler, okay?
Right. Yes.
And then at some point it's about like pawnbrokers or whatever, right? Like it's called scope creep. It happens at all these fucking specialty stations.
Well,
Festivus
MTV, Much Music.
Much music, right? Now it's like a Simpsons rerun channel or something
Is
like
it?
that.
I wouldn't even
If
know.
it exists, it probably airs like old episodes or
And
something.
then MTV became the Jersey Shore Network.
Right, exactly. So that's a good example of scope creep. Festivus episodes of Toronto Mike featuring Elvis, who in a moment I won't like tell people who you are because now I think it's fun if people just drop in cold and hear this voice and they wonder who it is. Shout out to Alan Zweig. We'll talk about him in a minute. But the Festivus episodes morphed. I think it became kind of like Christmas episodes, but I like these being anti-Christmas episodes. So today we get it right. Today is all about the airing of grievances.
Correct. My first unofficial grievance
Unofficial though,
airing,
because I don't want the official ones yet. Okay.
Unofficial is that everyone talks about, like, Festivus is like, you know, popular now. Like people, I was listening on the radio on the way, like ESPN radio, they did like a whole Festivus thing. And everyone talks about, you know, there's the poll and it's December 23rd and there's the airing of the grievances. But like, have we just completely abandoned the feats of strength? Like, what the fuck's your problem?
Are you doing that in the your secret household in North Oshawa?
Yes, Festivus includes the feats of strength. Do
Are you
not
and I
forget
doing
the
that?
feats of strength.
Like at the Toronto tree?
We can wrestle naked out by the tree there.
Well, Monica, if she's back, she can take the photo of us wrestling by the Toronto tree.
Perfect.
Okay.
Naked preferred.
So a little housekeeping though off the I would do it no other way. You know this already about me, okay? So if you don't know who Elvis is, that's your problem. I'm not going to tell you.
That only took about 3 years or 4 years to come to fruition.
Figure it out. I think about this episode's for the real head. On the mic, Elvis is cracking open a Great Lakes beer, even though it's 10 a.m. Because in North Oshawa, it's 5 p.m. That's what they say. It's always 5 p.m. in North. I'm going to crack one open too, even though after we record, I'm going to bike to Sugar Beach and drink beers with a FOTM Hall of Famer. Here we go.
Oh, Great Lakes is so good.
And if you ever listen to Toronto Mike, you'd get into the FOTM Hall of Fame. You know that, right? You're like the Pete Rose. If you just admit you did a bad thing and say you're sorry, we'd put you in that fucking thing before you croaked.
Does Pete Rose get in now?
Well, now that he's dead, anything's possible.
I know, but now you put him in because he's dead? Like, I don't think they can put him in now.
Well, yeah.
I think you got to
so
wait.
he fucked himself, right?
I think you got to wait, like, for another commissioner at least.
I don't
Maybe
want to
two.
See, I don't want to guess any of your grievances, but I was at the Toronto Raptors game thanks to a ticket gifted to me by Ridley Funeral Home.
Oh, nice.
And they gifted you something similar. It's a measuring tape, Elvis. So Brad Jones gifts me 2 tickets because Michelle, my oldest daughter, had just arrived back in Toronto because she lives in Montreal during the school year, going to McGill. She's doing great. But I haven't seen her since Thanksgiving. Like imagine you didn't see your daughter since Thanksgiving.
That's a long
Can you
time.
imagine? Okay.
Yeah.
You have multiple daughters, actually, as I recall.
I do.
So, right.
Is she here or is she?
She's in Toronto right now,
Gotcha.
but she's not in this house right now.
Right,
But okay, so she's at her mom's house. But she and I went to the Toronto Raptor game, and every quarter was dedicated to a different decade of Raptor basketball. So quarter 1 was the 90s, so a lot of Damon Stoudemire stuff or whatever.
Yep.
Quarter 2 was the 2000s, and that's what we've decided to call the aughts. And there was a lot, I'm going to tell you right now, there was a lot of Vince Carter love in that room. All I could think about is Elvis would be so mad right now at the love we're giving to this man. I don't want to spoil anything, so just wink if this might come up later. Well, not winking.
No,
Okay.
I'm not.
So
I'm
this
not
is not
talking
one
about
of your.
this. No, but
Okay.
I will tell you.
Yeah.
My middle daughter was. I'm very proud of her because she auditioned for and made
the Toronto Raptors,
the Lil Ballas Raptors dance team.
Oh wow!
So she dances at 15 Raptors home games, and so she's done
That's
4
huge.
or 5 of them already.
Wow!
And every time we go, and I
you
don't
look at the number 15 and you.
I don't go watch every game because I can't afford it. We don't get free tickets or anything.
Okay.
But we've been to 2 games, I think, maybe 3 out of the 5 because of just, excuse me, different things. I went there one time with my son, and I looked up and I said, "See, that's Vince Carter. Do you know who he is?" And my son said, "Yes." And I said, "Never, ever cheer for that man. He screwed that team, and And
He
if
stopped
I'm
dunking.
the only person, if I'm the only person that remembers
I
and
remember.
carries that cross,
I forgive though.
I will continue to. I'm happy to do that.
All right. So that won't be one. I just was worried that I would stomp all over one of your grievances being
No.
the retiring of number 15 at
But
the
fuck
Scotiabank
Vince Carter
Arena.
and his mom.
His mom too. Vince, I am as we know this about each
Just
other.
in case he's
so-
listening, you're gonna die.
And I guess I won't tell people who the fuck you are, because if you don't know, that's on you, okay? Because you've been established over the 12-year history, 12 plus years, 1,600 plus episodes of Toronto Mike. We've established who Elvis is. You co-hosted TMLX 17 with me. Thanks. I'm losing track now. That's a good sign.
Yeah.
But I'll just tell people that. Well, actually, I'm going to let Alan Zweig tell people. I'm going to save it here. I'm going to save that. So we're going to get to the grievances, but I want to cover a little basis here, including one thing I mentioned to you at TMLX 17, but you didn't seem to recall. Do you know, Elvis, that you and I were in the backyard recording during the pandemic? The
Yes, I do remember
COVID-19.
that.
Do you remember the COVID-19
I
pandemic?
did.
Is that one of your grievances?
No, I figured that's it's not a thing as much anymore.
Well,
But yeah, I remember coming over and we were in the backyard. Yeah.
Okay, so that was the moment the shout out to Ridley Funeral Home was coined.
I don't remember
I have
that
it.
being the. Oh, you do.
Tyler
Okay.
Campbell for a episode of FOTM Cast, not the most recent one, maybe a couple back, maybe 3 back. In fact, they're going to be, this is by they, I mean Tyler Campbell and Cam Gordon are going to be here the first week of 2025 for another FOTM Cast where we review the previous quarter.
Is
You
this
really
like-
should listen to these things.
Is this like the Walking Dead but the Talking Dead show?
Maybe,
Is
but
that
I
what it
didn't
is?
see that. But this is basically, we take the last quarter of the TMU, the Toronto Mike universe, and we dive in, like who died from the TMU,
Yeah, that's
who are
totally
the
it.
exciting episodes.
Totally. This is Talking
clip
Dead.
blew my mind. I can't believe this happened. Okay.
I never watched it either, but it was like you watched The Walking Dead, and then like there was an hour-long show afterwards where some of the
So-
cast came out and they talked about the show.
It's for the real heads, right? Like you don't want a casual, you don't want an Elvis listening to
You're right.
FOTM Cast, okay? You want the real heads. I want.
How funny would it be if I listened to no episodes, but I listened only to the fan cast?
Not a bad idea, by the way. But here's the moment. Are you ready, Elvis? I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to
yeah.
your reaction here. This and this is during the pandemic. I think this is like 20. Well, you'll tell me because it'll depend on when your beloved father
Yeah,
passed away.
yeah.
Okay, so let's listen. My sincere condolences. Last time you were in my backyard, I was giving you sincere condolences. Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. I was because your father had passed away, and you were very. I know. Is that too cry? It's Festivus. It's
Oh, this is the
so your father had. This is. So.
Your dad died. Shout out to the funeral.
So, and
Sponsor.
again, my sincere condolences. And you were,
Can you really say sincere condolences after you just
well, that was
plugged
I mean, come on, it's been over a year. Like, you know,
Oh, that's fantastic. That's,
but
I'll listen to that over again.
there you go. Do you remember that?
I don't remember it, but it said it over a year ago, so I would gather that was 2021.
Okay, so your father
my
passed in 2020.
Yes, June of 2020.
Okay, then that would
And
be
then-
the Festivus. That was probably December 23rd,
Yeah,
2022.
No, 2021.
2021.
2020.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
but
that's
that
the
is
first-
funny. Like, holy shit, that is funny.
So
That
that's
really
like
is.
and again, not I didn't have notes to say fucking shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. Like it was an organic moment that caught on, and ever since that episode, it's
Yeah,
not a
I mean,
Toronto Mike
it's all
episode.
over the place.
Yeah,
It's
we're
all
gonna,
over the
we're gonna be shouting out Ridley Funeral Home.
I think it's that's funny. That is really I really like that you brought that up. That's good. Who
Tyler dug up the clip.
All
Tyler
right.
Campbell, who's the VP of Sales.
how does he have access to these clips?
Well,
Oh,
what
because
do you mean? They're in the Toronto Mike's feed.
He
What are you
just
talking
goes
about?
back to the podcast.
Everyone with an internet connection on planet Earth has access
Right, I'm
to.
just thinking of this
these
being
episodes.
like a radio show or something.
No, this is not a radio show.
I'm like,
Okay,
imagining him in there recording this on tapes.
no, you overthink it. So
Cassette.
we have shout out Ridley Funeral Home off the top, okay? Because you and I similar vintage, and I think this is important for. Well, I mean, sports fans in this city, but just
Yeah.
sports fans in general. This is,
Yep.
to me, a big one. I was offline for several hours this day, and I literally went into Blue Sky on my phone from after a swim, and I'm looking at Blue Sky, and I see Matt Layden, okay? Do you know the name Matt Layden?
No.
Matt Layden is a guy in Edmonton.
Oh, that guy, the crazy guy.
Yeah, so he was on the app formerly known as Twitter, and then I told him, hey, I'm moving to Blue Sky, and he followed me to Blue Sky, set up an account. So almost every day he goes, Mike, Oh, he goes, Toronto Mike, what's happening tomorrow on Toronto Mike? Like, he sets me up to, like, promote future episodes. He's kind of amazing. And then he'll ask me, like, if I have a sports media person over, he'll be like, can you ask that person to ask the boss to, like, recruit James Duthie from TSN so he can host Hockey Night in Canada? That kind of stuff. Like, seriously. But the great Matt Layden, he wrote, did you hear about this person's death? And that was I'm like, that he's dead? Like, I saw him fairly recently. I was thinking he could suit up for the Blue Jays in 2024.
right,
I didn't see him in person. I saw him on, like, TV or something. But here is a clip of somebody I want to remember off the top.
A one-run lead for Philadelphia as we go to the bottom of the ninth. Jim Fregosi will give the ball to Mitch Williams to try to get the final 3 outs and force a Game 7.
I'm Ricky Henderson, and what I'm known for, being the greatest leadoff hitter of all time.
Top of the order, Ricky Henderson. Williams walks Henderson on 4 pitches to open the ninth.
So I was on first base, and then I got to second base.
Line into center, falling fast to hit.
Mitch was mainly worried about me. He's still in third base. He in the scoring position.
And now Ricky Henderson has taken Williams out of his game.
Trying to keep Henderson close to second. Williams has fallen behind Carter 2-0.
So he ended up slide stepping and trying to throw a slide. But he hung the slide.
Well hit down the left field line. Way back in.
It's all me. I think it was all me. Mitch says it's all me. If it wasn't for you, Joe wouldn't have never hit that ball.
Okay, a moment to process. Firstly, any thoughts on the passing of the greatest leadoff hitter of all time, the greatest base stealer in the history of Major League Baseball? Just ask him if you're in doubt. Well, you can't ask him anymore. We lost Ricky Henderson at 65.
Yeah, 2 thoughts. One is, if you want to know who the greatest baseball player of all time is, just ask Ricky Henderson. He'll tell you. And 2 is, this is shocking because it looked like he could have, and he actually apparently said so over the winter. He thinks that he could easily be the base stealing leader in baseball now.
He looks like
at
it, though.
65 years old. He looked really good.
Yeah.
But apparently he died from pneumonia, which is brutal.
Which reminds you that if you're eligible, here's a PSA, if you're eligible to get that, there's a vaccine for pneumonia.
There is, isn't there?
You have to be 60, 65?
Something like that.
Something like that. So you got it already, right,
There's
Elvis?
so many people I know that have pneumonia or like have got it in the last 6 months. It's crazy.
Do you know the name? I've had walking pneumonia, but it didn't even interrupt a bike ride. They gave me a pill and then it went away. But do you know the great Gare Joyce? Do you know this name?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, Gare Joyce almost died of pneumonia a few years ago.
Oh, wow. I remember
They
that.
said it was
I remember.
close. He says it was close. He can drop stats on you, what happened to his blood pressure and stuff, but he was, knocking on the door. St. Peter was opening that gate.
St. Peter. Oh,
that's who's at the
wow,
gate
that's
when you
good.
die. You'll
That's
find
pretty
out.
good that
You'll
he
find
got
out
St. Peter.
anytime. So I have a few thoughts. One is I love the whole idea that Ricky Henderson has at some point decided he hit that walk-off home run in 93.
It's fantastic. It's on brand. It really is on brand. It's fantastic.
But that quote is so perfect. But then I revisited it all in my mind, and he absolutely plays a role because you have the greatest base stealer in the history of the game on second base, right? We're down by 1, so that's the tying run on second base, dancing.
Right.
There's only 1 out. I think Devon White was an out, but Molitor, he didn't get credit there, but Molitor hits the hit that brings Ricky to second base. So now we got first and second, Joe at the plate. I think Alfredo Griffin is on deck. Like, I think that's like a
that sounds
trivia
about right.
question.
Sounds about right,
Something
yeah.
like that. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Like, we
who
got
is
that.
on deck?
Imagine Alfredo Griffin is up, 2 outs, tying run on whatever.
You want me to
second or
look it
third.
up?
Go ahead. But I'll just say he totally gets in Mitch Williams' head, and he may have played a role, but there's a big difference between, having the greatest base stealer in the history of the game dancing on second base at that at-bat will help Joe Carter, but he kind of takes that, which I would believe to be true as a baseball fanatic, especially back in 1993, and he makes it, I'm the reason Joe Carter hits the 3-run homer. Now Joe's got to touch them all. But I do remember as a diehard Blue Jay fan in 93, when we made got that Ricky Henderson, it was a trade for a great pitching prospect named Steve Kotze, I believe his name was.
Yeah.
Didn't pan out, but we all thought he was going to be like a great one. But I remember the Ricky we got wasn't the Ricky who played for the Jays. Like, we got a Ricky with these amazing numbers, and he fell off big time when he joined the Blue Jays. So we never really got that Ricky, but we did have a Ricky who could dance on second base with one out in the tying run at second base.
It was a threat, right? The threat that he brought.
Always. And he had the dance. And Mitch does kind of look like he's getting a bit distracted. He knows. So I am going to give partial credit to the great Ricky Henderson. We lost too soon.
Well, it's all part of the game, right? I mean, like Joe still has to hit the home run, and throwing, distracting the pitcher while you're on second is part of your job as a base runner, especially if you.
And
are
no one
Ricky
did
Henderson.
it better, right, Elvis?
Correct.
And you know what? He did have a little bit of swagger, but I actually dig it. I dig it.
You know what? The swagger comes off as genuine. Like I believe that he believes that. I don't think that he's just trying to be, show some bravado. Like I think that he actually does believe what he just said there. That wasn't just him trying to brag. That was him from his perspective being factual.
And he believes he hit that 3-run homer in 93.
Yeah. So Alfredo Griffin was indeed on deck, and
I remember.
I think this is sort of like AI happening here for me, so I don't know if it's I'm not.
We're misusing that term.
I don't
that could be a
this.
grievance. We're misusing the term AI.
But this is actually AI. It's an AI.
Right, but we're now applying AI to everything from like a bread maker to a fucking microwave.
It looks like Alfredo Griffin was pinch running for Olerud. That's why he was in the game.
Right, because you don't want all the roots slow as molasses there. Okay, now I have a breaking news before I play one last clip of Ricky Henderson. This is Moose Grumpy, who has looked into the Toronto Mike archives. You ready?
Oh boy.
Here are Festivus episodes, assuming I labeled them all properly. 2016, that's one. I'm going to do this one. 2017, 2018, that's 3. 2019, 2020, that's 5. 2021, 2022, 2023, now 2024. That means we're at 9.
That's
so
9.
Next year is the Big 10.
So 2016 is the first one, according
to Moose Grumpy.
We should maybe go back into the archives and see if there is an episode that was recorded on the 23rd in 15 and just not labeled as Festivus.
All right, Moose, just confirm for Elvis. He wants to be confirmed. Okay,
well, because you brought it up that maybe it was mislabeled.
Maybe it was mislabeled. I'm going to play one more clip of Ricky Henderson. You ready?
So, Ricky, now that you're in Toronto, you're probably right into my morning show on the Fan 1430, aren't you? Sure am, Bob. Yeah, I knew that. And you like the way we cover Toronto sports teams in depth every day, don't you, Ricky? Sure do, Bob. So that's why you listen to me, right, Ricky?
No, I listen for weather and traffic. It pops in every 10 minutes or so. Hey, a guy like me got a plan this day.
The Bob McCowan Show. Everything a guy needs to start the day. Weekday mornings on the Fan, 1430.
Weather and traffic?
Do you remember these ads,
I
Elvis?
do not remember those ads. No, not at all. But that would be the only time that Bob would ever have an athlete on, was to do a commercial.
Commercial.
I don't know if that was the case in the morning show, but definitely for primetime sports, he despised having athletes on because he didn't think they have anything good to say, which I actually agree.
Yeah, most of the time they just read like some talking
PR,
points memo or something like that. I don't have many active athletes
That's a good
on
one,
this show.
It shows you how cheesy radio used to be, right? Like that's just...
Well, a few fun facts. One, again, shout out to Scott Metcalf who sent me that audio. But in fact, I'm gonna put.
I wanted to ask you about that. Where did you get
Scott
that from?
Metcalf gave me that. So
that's cool.
This is some fun facts. One is that was the Fan 1430 before I moved to 590.
I remember listening the day that happened and actually physically turning the dial when it changed over to 590. I remember that distinctly.
We are the perfect age for that switcheroo. I think it was early 90s or whatever that was. And then another fun fact there is that's a morning show with Bob McCowan, who is most famous for being Afternoon Drive. So we forget there was a period of time when somebody else hosted primetime sports. Do you know, Elvis, big trivia before we get to our grievances, who hosted primetime sports?
I feel like I know when you say it, but I can't.
Well, you will know when I say it because his name is Dan Shulman.
Really?
So Dan Shulman was the only other host that show ever fucking had.
Wow.
Dan Shulman, who was in the building when Ricky Henderson hit that 3-run homer, the walk-off homer in 93 to beat the Phillies. When Ricky hit that homer, Dan Shulman was in the building.
That's
stuck in an elevator, as he told us. But from now on, I'm calling it the Ricky Henderson walk-off. And that was not an accident.
It's so great.
And you should know also, Elvis, because you don't listen to Toronto Mike, that Joe Carter's now in FOTM. He went.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay,
I knew that. It was at that golf tournament
at the Joe Carter Classic.
That's right.
I hope Ricky. I hope Ricky's there in spirit next year when I'm there. I can't believe we lost the great.
Where does Joe live these days? Do you know?
No, but it's somewhere. I'm gonna guess it's I couldn't guess actually. Florida maybe.
Is it like where he's from or is
well,
he
he's from
like
Kansas City, isn't he?
I don't know.
I don't know where he's from. I
Or
didn't
is
ask
he
him.
like living like in one of the Sunshine States?
I don't know. I'll ask him though when I return to the
Yeah,
Gil
yeah.
Carter Classic in 2025.
You're
Maybe
going
I'll-
again.
The guy told me I did a great job, so it'll be just me and the Fan 590.
Is that Kevin Shea?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get that in a moment. We're almost there, everybody. So where was I going again? So Bob McCowan went on to do mornings, and then Dan Schulman, the only other host, Primetime Sports. Did you hear the news that Bob McCowan's done with this podcast?
I heard that. Yes.
Any thoughts on the long career of Bob McCowan?
No, I guess I didn't hear the full question. I answered before I heard the full question. I will say I never listened to his podcast either. So that's what I was going to say. No, I've never listened to it, so I have no comment on it. I can only imagine it was just a really poor man's version of Primetime.
Oh, I never heard it.
But
But he had strokes. Like he had multiple strokes.
Yeah,
which
that would
affected
be
his
challenging
speech.
to listen. Someone was commenting about how challenging it is to listen to him.
Brian Gerstein, maybe?
Maybe.
'Cause he was last man standing.
Especially like right after the strokes. I guess he had gotten a little bit better, but and he's divorced again and all that stuff. Like
Well,
it
his
seems like
wife
he's in a
actually, I think, his ex-wife was a real estate agent who I believe sold.
second or third.
Sure, he has a daughter with her though, and I know
Gotcha.
he opened up to I want to say FOTM. What's her name? She sounds like a cartoon character. It'll come to me, her name, but she wrote a piece for Rogers magazine when he was
Right.
working for Rogers, in which he talked about like his daughter and his wife left him, and he was all alone in this
He's
bridal
in
path.
Mississauga or
Well, he
something
was
now,
in the
right?
bridal path, and
Right.
she sold that.
Right.
Who knows what percentage ended up going to her?
Right.
But now he's in like a nice, I think, poor credit or something like
Right.
that. But
He's a legend. I mean, there's no doubt about it. In Toronto radio, in Canadian radio, he is a legend. He was
Rutherford.
He.
That's the name of the woman who did the interview, who's been on Toronto Mike. Her name is.
Does she have a first name?
Yeah, it'll come to me in a minute. K starts with a K. She sounds like a cartoon character. It's unbelievable to talk to her.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
like her voice, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant like her name.
No.
And then when you said Rutherford, I'm like, what the fuck are
No,
you talking
her
about?
voice sounds like a cartoon
That would have been a
character.
grievance of mine. Rutherford is not a cartoon name. But I know that what you're saying now. So I would say Bob's a legend. I mean, he was one of the first to do like the whole radio simulcast on TV thing. I'm sure someone will argue that there was
Well,
probably
Howard
someone
Stern did
else
it
somewhere
first,
else.
right?
I don't know. Well,
Howard Stern
it
did
was
it first.
pay-per-view, I guess, right? So this was like, on cable. I'm sure someone will argue someone else did it somewhere else. Fine, but I didn't see it. So, I mean, Bob was a legend. He really was. He was unique. He brought a different style of broadcasting to sports talk radio that, won't be duplicated. And, he just had, he just got, I guess, aged out, for lack of a better term, which kind of sucks for a guy like
Well, he
that.
made a lot of
but-
money. I think that worked against him the most. Like I know he got the tap on the shoulder and it's like your time's up.
Right.
And they sent him home.
Right.
And I think it was because of how much he made.
Well, I also think that nothing replaced it really. For a small period of time after many, many years, they tried to seemingly bring in Tim to do something similar, and that clearly didn't work out either. I think that lasted for like 3 years.
Are you
So,
still
like,
in love with Sid Seixeiro?
I never was in love
I
with
thought you
Sid
were a big Sid fan. When
I
he's
was
on
never a
breakfast
big
television.
Sid fan. I liked him more than Sid. I'm not a big Sid fan.
Real talk. Okay.
Sid is too he's too out there for me.
He's too much.
He's too much. He's too much. He's too much. It's too much. I liked him. I
He's
really
fit for
liked
the pit.
I really liked Tim's show. I liked Tim and Sid too, but I really liked Tim's show. But
Right.
clearly, it doesn't work anymore in today's era.
I don't
right?
think they care anymore. That's part of the problem. But I
Could be.
do. You
Could
know who
be.
does care? So two things. Rob
Is anyone
Gil-
going to sit down and watch a 3-hour or listen to a 3-hour sports show anymore?
I thought
don't
you were
know.
going to talk about TMLX 17.
No. I mean, is anyone going to do that anymore?
Right.
People don't
Yeah,
even
they're
read.
on TikTok and they need it like quick hits. Give me
Right,
a-
yeah, people don't read articles anymore. They just
I
read
know.
headlines, right? So I think the whole
See, the
environment has
problem
changed.
is the cable companies, they can't afford to cater to the people who can still handle long form. And that's why this stuff has to exist, because we have to go outside. Like I'm not big,
Right.
like people are like, who's going to do that? Of course, there's people who still crave that, but not enough people for Rogers or Bell to invest in it. So really, it's up to, I'm not going to say it's up to us, but it's up to us, and it's up to who are the independents out there, the Brunts and the Merricks and these people who aren't beholden to the cable companies to create that content, because there's still a bunch of us who do want long form, deeper dives.
Well, it'll be interesting once Bell divests itself of all this stuff, and it's just going to be Rogers left, right? Like that'll make it. Does that make it better or worse? I would.
I know. I don't know.
Perhaps there's an avenue to make it better because they can sort of do what they want to do without worrying about competition. But
Big note
Who
here
knows?
from FOTM Rob Del Mundo. So shout out to Rob Del Mundo, who reminds me her name is Christina Rutherford, and Christina's with a K, and I knew this, and I'm sorry I had a blank. It's been a while since she came over. She came over with Greg Brady's wife, Rachel Brady.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever read Rachel Brady in the Globe and Mail, but Mark Weisblot has a great point about Bobcat in 1995, right? So this is 1995. This is Bobcat. 1995. This is Mark Weisblot on Bobcat. 1995 turned out to be one of the most tumultuous in McCowan's career, as he was fired only to be rehired. So he was fired in 95, rehired a month later to host primetime sports because Dan Shulman left to become the Blue Jays play-by-play announcer on TSN. So this is 95. Shulman's doing afternoon drive. He quits to go do Blue Jay games for TSN. Smart move by Shulman.
Yeah.
Now they have to bring Bobcat back. Oh, he didn't write it though. Wikipedia wrote it. He copied and pasted it. But so we won't give too much credit to Weisblot. But McCowan then promptly, getting the new gig as a primetime sports host, he promptly takes a 3-week vacation after hosting one show on a Friday afternoon. So there you go. That's the kind of guy. So he was like the Ricky Henderson of talk radio, sports radio, in that you want to know who the best broadcaster in the country was? Ask Bobcat. He'll tell you. It was Bobcat.
Yeah.
And he had that bravado and that swagger.
He did.
And it worked well for him because in all these contract negotiations, he went in wanting a lot because he felt no one does it better. And he often got what he wanted.
I also I love the stories of Stephen Brunt. Maybe it was on this podcast, telling the stories of how he would just like walk in and there's like no prep. He would do no prep. At least he wouldn't do prep at the station. He'd just walk in with his sunglasses, sit down, turn the mic on, and then, you know, a lot of times he wouldn't even talk to his co-host before the microphone went on. He was just a real curmudgeon in that way, but also clearly knew his stuff without really, you know, demonstrating, you know, before the show or after the show for that matter.
He had a good rap on him.
Yeah. And then he would, you know, go out and smoke during commercial breaks and all that kind of stuff. Like just a real sort of like a real character kind of guy. Like I'm surprised he didn't get mixed up in any sort of like shenanigans and stuff. He seemed to be like that, you know, because he was the top dog, you know, like you would imagine that there would be people that he could have taken advantage of, but that never came out of it. So to his credit, that kind of stuff.
No, he's just a cranky curmudgeon guy.
Yeah.
You know who else is a cranky curmudgeon guy?
Who?
Alan Zweig.
He
Do you know
really
that name?
is. Yeah, I know. I don't even know who he is really, but I know because I've met him, and I know him from your podcast
TMLX
thing.
17.
Yeah.
So I have a short clip of
amazing.
Zweig's take on you from TMLX
On me?
17. Yeah. You
He
ready?
talks about me?
Yeah, you were there.
Oh, right. Okay. I thought it was like
No,
after.
no.
I thought
you were
got
sitting
this,
beside me.
I thought you got
actually.
this
So
post.
this is what Zweig had to say about you. So let's listen closely. It's very short. Here we go.
Also,
Feedback
your
in the room.
co-host is just fucking laughing. It's like Ed McMahon here.
Who is the...
Anyway.
This is way better than the
Righto,
fucking
sir.
Stanley Cup story. It's way better.
Firstly, are you criticizing the great Kevin Shea story about
That
his,
was fantastic. It really was
Jack
good. It
McLean?
was, I mean, it's just an easy target to be able to poke fun at that story, but it was.
First of all, it was
really
only
good.
21 minutes.
It was fantastic. I think it was really great. I know that you were worried about or other people were saying that it wasn't, you know, content-wise, not the
A few
greatest way, but
people said, "Oh, that's kind of ballsy," for lack of a better term.
the fucking podcast was 3 hours long.
But yeah, to start
the
though,
fuck?
you opened with giving somebody the mic uninterrupted for 21 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like I was blindsided. I knew the story. I invited him personally and said, "Can we open TMLX 17 with the Jack McLean story?"
and you promoted the story.
Yeah, like
you talked about
I
it.
actually
and
didn't
you
know it
were
was
actually
21 minutes.
excited.
I didn't say. I kind of was thinking maybe this will hit 15 minutes. That's what I was thinking, and it went 21, so 6 minutes more than I expected. But there was no way I was going to interrupt that story to move it along any faster.
This is the long. We just talked about this. This is the long form content.
And if you
that
don't
people
like long
clearly want.
form, you're not listening to Toronto Mike anyway.
Correct. Well, especially the TMLX, right? Like that's an extra long. That wasn't a dig. That wasn't a
No,
criticism.
that's like 3
but
hours.
That's
right.
like a really long show, right?
Well, I was
So
at the Humble and Fred Christmas show yesterday at Kelsey's,
Yeah.
and they went like an hour and change.
You're still allowed. You're still allowed to
I'm
go
the,
there.
I'm the producer.
Still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless they're gonna call me at some point, but I said,
I feel like that is like a. I feel like that relationship is like just emotionally scarring. This is up
You
and
were
down,
at
it
my
seems
wedding where they were there too.
I
You were
did.
at
I
their
was at the table.
Wow.
Yeah. I feel like that relationship might be
And Howard
toxic.
was hammered that day, right?
He was very intoxicated.
And then
yes.
He made the speech.
The infamous speech.
Which wasn't
yes.
scheduled, in which he looked at, because it's funny, because tomorrow is the Monica's family Christmas. They do Christmas Eve in the Filipino
Gotcha.
community.
Okay. Yep.
So tomorrow I'm going to that. So they're going big tomorrow.
You're
So
going
I'll
to
be-
Edmonton?
No.
Oh.
Most of them are not in Edmonton.
Oh, they're not anymore?
Most of them are.
Oh,
well,
okay.
no, her parents are in Edmonton, so the
Right.
parents won't be at this party.
Gotcha.
But most of her family's in the GTA actually.
Gotcha.
So I'll be at this family Christmas thing tomorrow.
Is it in Mimico?
It's in Thornhill.
Thornhill,
actually,
okay.
is where I believe
Yep.
it's going to be.
So you have to drive there.
Yeah, well, 100%. This is a driving thing.
Gotcha.
Got to watch that snowfall coming here. But all this is to say that when Humble Howard, inebriated at the time, took the mic,
Incredibly
unscheduled,
inebriated.
his first he made a crack about not understanding my brother's speech, whose birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday, Ryan. But then his next sentence was he looked at the side, and it just turned out that Monica's family was on one side. And they were mostly Filipino people.
Well,
okay?
because their background is, it makes
And he
sense.
said-
I mean, it's not like
But he's so
crazy.
humble, looks at them and says, "Don't worry if you didn't understand. We didn't understand either." Like this whole
So ridiculous.
right?
It
And
was so
apparently,
crazy. Did he ever apologize for that?
I don't know if he apologized for it directly. I can't remember, but he's been banned from the Philippines. Like he's actually not allowed. He's not allowed to travel to the Philippines. He's on like a
Amazing.
no entry list.
What would happen if he showed up here?
Humble?
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Like,
sure
would
Monica.
Monica shiv him?
No, I don't think it's that bad. I think Monica knows that he's a radio guy who likes to, and a comic who likes to make bits, and sometimes they're awkward. Like I know
Right.
sometimes when I'm on, I'll say something stupid because I'm kind of on, and then I realize, oh, like I'm not.
It was
chill.
cringe. It was awesome, but it was cringe. It
There's
was
no
like-
recording of that, by the way.
Yeah, which is too bad.
Otherwise, we'd open this episode with it. Okay,
That was a fun wedding.
So last thoughts, because I have one more clip I'm going to play from TMLX 17. Then we're going to air our fucking grievances, Elvis. And we
Okay.
each brought 5 grievances to the table. And I have gifts
I have
for you.
more. Just to, so I'm gonna.
Well, you
I'm
got
gonna
5
pick-
main
I'm gonna
ones,
feel.
right?
Yeah, I'm gonna feel
Oh, yeah.
feel them out as we
Okay.
go.
I like it when you feel me out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So, any last thoughts on being compared to Ed McMahon, okay, former Tonight Show host? Alan Zweig said, "Who's this guy?" Because I don't think Alan knows who Elvis is, and that's on him.
Correct.
But this guy is just laughing at your jokes, and I was thinking that's why he's a good fucking co-host.
Well,
for
the
these events.
joke is incorrect in the sense that I laugh at all the jokes.
You have a big laugh.
Not just your jokes. And you don't have a lot of jokes. You're not a jokey guy. You did have some good zingers.
I'm a sneaky funny guy.
There
I
were a
don't do
couple of
stand-up.
good jokes that you did make in TMLX to whatever the fuck it is.
17.
And I actually called them out on the show. So, like, you can be funny, but your role is not to be funny, generally speaking. And I'm
Right.
usually laughing at
I
something
got to move
else.
things along. 21 minutes. You're up, Kevin.
Right.
Let's
Although
go.
I guess in this podcast I'm laughing at you quite a bit. So yeah, fuck it, whatever. It's fine. I don't.
Yeah.
The thing is that 99% of the people who are there and listening have no idea who the fuck Ed McMahon is. So like,
No, that's a Gen. I feel like that's a Gen X crowd.
Gen X?
Yeah, it's not below Gen X, right? Like here, it's funny because
With Gen X and baby
I was in
boomers. There's
this.
probably baby
Oh yeah, I
boomers there
forgot.
too,
I was
right?
at the Christmas party yesterday. Went like an hour and change. Mine go 3 hours, but mine go 3 hours because everyone who attends and wants on the mic
Can get on the
gets
mic.
on the mic.
Right.
Humble and Fred only let paying sponsors on the mic, right? So it's
Gotcha.
100% different, right?
Oh, so it's a big circle jerk.
well, it's just not like I didn't get on the mic, for example. at
Oh,
the
you did? Well,
No.
really? You're the producer.
I know.
Don't you permanently have a mic beside you like Gary Delabate?
No, I was like wrangling people. Like, so when they wanted Brad Jones from Ridley Funeral Home, I
Right.
would
Oh,
go get
really?
him. And but Brad is.
Do they
fun-
shout out to Ridley Funeral Home as
They
well?
don't
or no?
actually ever say those words. I don't think they know I say them. They should adopt those words. Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. But Ridley Funeral Home, as we speak right now, is a sponsor of Toronto Mike and Humble and Fred.
How many times has that happened in history where you've had?
Oh, Palma Pasta for a little while.
Right.
And I think I brought a company to them called Garbage Day that was one of the very rare sales that the VP of Sales made.
I remember. I used to
Right.
have that app.
And that's
for-
an
to
RBC app, yeah.
To support you.
So I introduced them to Humble and Fred. So there's been a few instances. I think that might be it. I can't remember if StickerU.com ever sponsored Humble and Fred. Maybe
Oh,
not.
right. I don't see
But
their
there's
sticker
very
there
few examples. But there is a current example, which is Ridley Funeral Home.
Right.
Who's sponsoring both here. So I was doing a lot of wrangling of things like that. And then,
Gotcha.
so I never, but if they had called me on the mic to say hello, I 100% was prepared to do it, but I never got called on the mic, so it didn't happen. But at a Toronto Mic listener experience, only once a year do we do the live recordings, and that's at Palma's Kitchen. And I want to thank Palma for hosting, and Palma has a large lasagna in my freezer for you, Elvis.
Thank you. Thank you. Anthony's the best. He really is the best.
Well, you and I and Anthony have a great history because we were
way back. This is way back to like when your blog didn't suck days.
Before the podcast.
Yeah, way before the podcast.
When my blog didn't suck. I think it did suck by then, but I can't remember.
No, it didn't
So
suck.
there's a lasagna for you. I have
Thank
one more
you.
clip from TMLX 17, but first I'm going to give you this wireless speaker from Moneris because you're going to listen to Season 7 of Yes, We Are Open, which is hosted by another guy we chatted with at TMLX
He's the
17,
best.
Al Grego.
I feel like
who's
I've
the
known him
best?
for a long time.
Anthony or Al?
Anthony, just because I've known him for a lot longer.
Okay, but Al Grego is
There's
also
a
the best.
Longer history there. Deeper history.
What do you think of Peter Gross? Is he also the best? I want to know. I'm going to ask you about everyone at TMLX. What are your thoughts on Moose Grumpy? She's live
lovely.
on the live. Is
She's
she lovely?
She
Is
absolutely, yes. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know who she is before this whole like podcast thing comes, and then like all of a sudden she's like this super nice person.
Well,
who's,
she comes
like,
to
says-
events. That's how I get to know my listeners
and
when they
she's
come
like
to events.
she listens and she's like nice and like she gets it.
She just did homework.
It's
for
like
us.
she's in on the joke.
She's lovely.
Like she's great.
And she's become a dear friend of both Stephanie Wilkinson, who's
Right.
an OG. She was on the bus before the podcast. Okay.
Oh, she was.
Yeah. She was before my blog sucked. She was a big fan of TorontoMike.com. And Live Fumka, who we'll talk about in a
I
moment.
thought they were friends before.
No, they all met through the Toronto Mike
Really?
listener experiences.
So I have a question for you. Like, and I thought of this on the way. I thought of
Then
this.
I have a statement from the VP of sales. So you go first.
I thought about this on the way in, actually, this morning while I was showering. How many years have you been doing this?
This is now year 13.
13. So 13 years ago, I know that this is somewhat of an unfair question because podcasting in the world today is so much different than it was 13 years ago. But when you started this and made the conscious decision, maybe unconscious because you sort of were forced into it a little bit, did you ever think that you would get to the point where you had this sort of business and also community that goes along with what you're doing? Because you've built something really, really special. It's if you've never
Wow.
been
High
to
praise from you.
if you've never been to a Team LX or even like just participated in online stuff with Mike, he really has this amazing community of people that have just like come together, and it's amazing. Did you ever think that that was possible, or was that even like a glimmer or a twinkling in your eye of something
well,
that you could do?
No one forced me to start Toronto Mike. I literally just watched Humble. I started Humble and Fred podcasting in October 2011.
Well, I think you went. What I meant was that you went into it full time.
Oh,
because
20.
you-
Oh, I know.
because then you got laid
2018.
off. You got laid
2018.
off from your job, right?
2018, I left my full-time job and started TMDS. I have to get my initials correct. Okay. So I see what you mean. Okay. So no, but I started the podcast in 2012, right? So the
Yeah.
podcast was 6 years old when I started
Yeah,
TMDS.
yeah. You
But
knew what you
no,
were
I
doing.
never, of course not. You don't, who am I, right? I'm not a radio guy like you. You were on Western
Yeah,
radio.
I wasn't a radio guy.
But you used to call Western games for the
Yeah,
university.
football, hockey, yeah, all
Come
that
on.
stuff, yeah.
And I know you lost a good friend, Carlo.
I did. Carlo, yeah.
See, I
Good
remember
look,
these
good-
things.
good memory.
Multiple vowels in Carlo. as I
Yeah,
remember.
he's finished. He was
Absolutely.
finished.
Oh, he's finished all right. Shout out to the funeral home. No, I'm sorry. I never met him. I'm sorry. But I absolutely don't. I didn't think about it. Remember, not that you should remember, but the first TMLX event was at Great Lakes Brewery.
I was there.
And they said, hey, have you thought about having a live event? And I actually kind of laughed it off like, it'll just be me, and if I can
Maybe I
beg
wasn't
Elvis
there.
to come.
Maybe I wasn't there. You said the first one wasn't broadcast, right?
Can't remember.
Was there a broadcast?
Can't
don't know.
remember. I do know that Al Grego's band played it. They're the Royal
Maybe I was.
Pains.
Maybe I was there then.
Can't remember if I recorded the first
I
one.
think I was at 2 or 3 at Great Lakes.
Yeah.
And then
The Palmas Kitchen one.
definitely at Palma's Kitchen.
Okay, so we're right because 18 will be in June, right? So we're already at 18. But I guess.
And
so,
then you did
so,
a bunch in the park, like throughout the pandemic and stuff.
Yeah, we met at Marie Curtis Park for beers, and I'm going to carry that tradition at Sugar Beach later today. But, and that's not a TMLX, so Michael Lang, don't worry, don't sweat it over here.
Oh dear. He's got the streak.
So a couple
He's
of things.
like Cal Ripken now.
So Mark Weisblad says TMU was possible. That's the community we call it, the Toronto Mike
Yes.
universe. Was possible because our guy Mike was an enthusiast of the 3-ring circuses that would develop around radio shows. So maybe I think he's saying you're a whack packer.
I'll take it.
And I got to get this thing in here. If you were a
I don't
student
know if
of
that's
this
a
university,
demotion or promotion.
and he's right. If you were a student of the TMU, you understood how this was possible with Toronto Mike. So this thing, and I was There's 4. I want to shout out 4 people because this is going to be a very somber moment where I shout out Ridley Funeral Home. But this bunch of friendships have come out of the TMLX events where listeners get together and they have one thing in common. They like the same podcast, okay? And maybe they even like me. Or maybe they like Elvis. I don't know. But this broad squad I want to shout out because it's going to tie into this clip I'm going to say it is Moose Grumpy, Stephanie Wilkinson, and Live Fumka. But there was a 4th member, Sheila Kanisowicz. And Sheila, early 50s, attending all the events, very involved, dropped dead of a heart attack.
Yeah.
She passed away
I
very
remember that.
suddenly. And that was a hit. I remember getting the news and confirming it with her employer, because she had an employer, a real estate agent in like Bloor West, Kingsway. Anyway, her name is Gludish. Her last name was Gludish. And I confirmed with her all the details, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing, that Sheila was gone. And you know what that's like with Carlo and people you've lost in your life. It's a hit. So they are now friends, but they were not friends pre.
I did not know that. See,
events.
that also speaks to the power of the community, because as an outsider looking in, I see, especially Moose.
Why are you an outsider? Why don't you come on inside? It's warm in here. Okay, so Live Fumka, I'm going to play a clip. But Moose Grumpy writes in the live stream, by the way, why am I reading these real-time clips? Because we're live at live.torontomike.com, and many members of the community are there. The whole TMU is amazing. This is Moose Grumpy. We have helped each other find jobs, raised money for charities, support through lifetime events, births, deaths, weddings. Much love is spread between friends. So I feel honored about that, but I feel like we're doing some drifting away from the crankiness of these grievances here. My goodness. But one last clip from TMLX 17, and then we'll get to our grievances. I promise.
Hit it.
This happened. Live Fumka.
Yes.
Please give us an update on your health. We're all thinking about you. I did drop off the Wire DVD set. That's how much I care about you. How are you feeling? Give us a health update.
So I had a PET scan about 3 weeks ago, and it showed that I was cancer-free. And
there you go.
Thank you.
So thank you, Live Fumka, FOTM Hall of Famers.
Thank you.
Any words before we give up your mic?
Well, I don't want to embarrass him, but someone at this table has been with me throughout the whole journey and always there getting my back, because he's been through it too. I don't want to make you cry, but Elvis,
I like it when he cries.
Thank you.
Elvis has
everything.
been there for Live. I thought you were talking about me, but you're talking about Elvis. Any words to say to Live?
I mean, she's a remarkable woman. With everything that she's gone through, we text back and forth, and there's good days and bad days, but she's always way more positive than I would be in that situation, and you're just an inspiration, and you're going to keep kicking ass. I know it.
Thank you.
Love you.
Love you too.
There's a hug happening.
There was a hug.
Oh, you're tethered. Okay, ladies and gentlemen at home, there's a big headphones
embrace
on. You can't hug.
Elvis and Live Fumka.
I'm doing play-by-play. I'm the Dan Shulman of emotional moments here.
Keep us
Two
posted,
fucking
please.
times now.
Yeah, you were crying again.
Yeah.
You haven't cried that hard since George Michael died on Christmas Day.
Jesus.
You know, before I get your reaction to Live Fumka, fun fact. So, not fun that George Michael died on Christmas Day, but Ricky Henderson was born on Christmas Day.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so he would have
shitty.
been 66 in a couple of days. Okay.
You know what blew my mind? Because
What?
I don't like this guy, as you know, and I don't want to.
What, Ricky, or you don't like Ricky?
I don't want to go down another tangent, but if I told you that Ricky Henderson was 65 and Eddie Vedder turned 60, which is I think today or yesterday is his birthday.
Love that guy.
Would you believe me? Because I feel like Ricky Henderson is kind of like Hulk Hogan. Like, I thought Hulk Hogan was 50 when we were kids, and then like he just always looked old. And Ricky Henderson, like, I just thought he was a lot older than this. When I heard he was 65, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I thought he was 80.
Well, you know who looked 80?
You know, and
when
then
he was, speaking of World Series wins for the Blue Jays, in '92 we beat the Atlanta Braves, as you will recall.
Yes.
Do you remember Atlanta Brave, the guy who got the final out, the great Otis Nixon? He
Yeah,
become a Blue Jay. He looked 54, 55 when he was
Yeah.
playing at the Braves.
Yeah, how old is he now? I mean, like he's
got to be 100, right? And then
It's crazy.
because I want to get back to Levy Fumka, the thoughts on what Levy Fumka said. Now that you can process it and maybe not be drowning in those North Oshawa tears. But hold on, the oh Christ, what was I going to say? I'm praying.
You made a very good dark joke. After that, do you remember the dark joke?
Of course I do.
Yeah,
Because
it was
when I
very
listen
dark,
back, you
but it
know,
was
I got
good.
edited out of that. I'm like, oh, Mike, you can just let a sweet moment happen. But it was TMLX, and my joke was that Levy Fumka was put into the Hall of Fame because she was sick.
Right,
And if
'cause you
she's
thought she was gonna
cancer-free,
die.
maybe
Jesus
we
Christ.
take that back. But that was
Holy
all a
fuck.
joke. That was
it was
100. Oh, yeah, so just last
quite
point.
good.
I just remembered where I was going because, you know, I'm enjoying my great
She's not
work, so-
listening live anyway, so
Oh, good.
she's doing.
We can say anything we want.
Yeah, she's.
But Moose is taking notes
got,
for her.
She's got an appointment.
Yesterday, not the whole family, but 4 members of my family sat down to watch It's a Wonderful Life, streaming
seen
on
it.
Prime. So I got to it late in life, like in my 30s, but now it's appointment viewing, and I bawl every single time. I bawled last night.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, every night. But the character, Mr. and people who have seen it, which is a lot of people, Mr. Gower is a key character, okay? He's a pharmacist. Mr. Gower, when George Bailey is like 12 years old or something, Mr. Gower's in the movie, okay? And then Mr. Gower's there when George Bailey is like, I don't know, and it's like 40 or something? I don't know, 35? I don't know how far that movie goes. He's a complete adult. Of course, he's played by Jimmy Stewart. But Mr. Gower does not age. Like, Mr. Gower looks like an old guy when George Bailey's a kid. And at the end of the movie, the final scene on Christmas Eve, a beautiful scene, the bell rings. Mr. Gower is there singing the Auld Lang Syne. And Mr. Gower looks just as old as he did in the beginning of the movie. So it's kind of like, it's wild. Everybody kind of, there's an aging, different actors and stuff. But Mr. Gower, I know there's no CGI in 1947 or whatever the hell, 48. But it's wild when you see Mr. Gower in the beginning of the movie. And then this movie goes a few decades in time. And he still looks exactly the same old man. Mr. Gower, shout out to Mr. Gower. That's not one of my grievances, by the way. Elvis, please react to those very kind and beautiful words our Levy Fumka said about you at TMLX 17.
Well, she's amazing. The whole thing is sad, but I think one of the more sadder things is that it took a crazy thing like being diagnosed with cancer for me to, be introduced to 2 people that are really just good people. And, there's always a shortage of good people in your life. And so any more good people that I can add into, my day-to-day to keep things moving in a positive direction, I will welcome. And the context for adding them sucks, but I'll take it.
But you do know the TMU is full of those types of people. That's literally the community that has developed.
But didn't I just fucking...
But they have to all get cancer for you to care about them?
Didn't I just blow you earlier to tell you that?
Fillet
Well,
me.
I don't have all these I don't have the opportunity to meet all.
Well, thank goodness Levy Fumka got the cancer, so you take the time to get to know her.
That's not what
and
I
her
mean.
lovely
Holy
husband,
moly.
FOTM.
But you know what it is? It is a lot easier to go to these things now because I do recognize people and they're very nice and friendly and lovely to talk to, and you get to know them a little bit better. It's amazing what can happen after you go to a few of these things.
Well, I hope
like
to
your VP
see
of
you,
sales is a great guy.
Oh, I have a quote from him before we get to, now the grievances are coming. Maybe the whole
Langer.
episode is teasing the grievances and we never get to it. Okay?
That'd be great. Now we're out of time.
VP of sales writes in multiple, because I think we did reference the Garbage Day app, which was a sale by VP of sales.
Oh, good.
Okay. And he has also sold, I want to shout out Mike Majeski, another great VP of sales sale. But VP of sales writes multiple sales, because that's 2 I mentioned right there. Big dollars, screwed by COVID. There was a huge thing going to happen with the branch of RBC responsible for apps like Garbage Day. There was a huge deal happening when COVID hit, and everything got paused, and then the principals moved on to other jobs, and this, of course, died on the vine. You've heard of that story before.
Yeah.
He says, so basically he says, I've sold before, and I will sell again. And I want to say, I believe in you. I'm hitching my wagon to the VP of sales, just like I'm hitching my wagon to Ian Service, just like I'm hitching my wagon to Elvis. I'm going to leave a lot of money on the table, and I'm going to be happy to do so.
One of the original episodes I was on was with Ian. or Ian Service, as I like
Ian.
to say.
Yeah, I am at your service. Ian Service drove from Guelph to be a part of one of our episodes because he's
and
a
he
big
had a lot
fan.
of snow that day too.
And he's still a big fan. So
He's a
love
good
that
dude.
guy. He's a good dude
Good
here.
dude.
All right, we're ready now.
Hold on. Has Stokely ever come to a TMLX?
You know what?
Because he's a busy guy. He's always got sports stuff, right?
He might have been at one at Great Lakes Brewery, but
He's a good dude.
fun story is a couple of weeks ago, speaking of Ian, sir, I had an issue, and I won't get into the details because it's boring me to even think about it in my head as I formulate it. But basically, there's a USB connection from this board to this laptop, so I can play things on the laptop that go through the board and then go back to be recorded on the laptop. It's a two-way street, this cable, okay? This cable I'm pointing to right now.
Yep.
But the two-way street started becoming a one-way street out of nowhere where I would play stuff here. Anything I played on the laptop was not being recorded. Like, it would go through the board, I could hear in the headphones, but it wouldn't be recorded here. So it's now... What's wrong here? I troubleshot the fuck out of this. This should have been one of my grievances. I changed the cable. I changed the laptop. I changed all the parts one by one. I had long convos with Ian Service trying to just talk it out. Sometimes you talk to somebody who knows what's going on. It helps, right? And then I'm talking to different people. So I can't figure it out. The only piece I didn't swap out was the board because I didn't have another board, and they're over $1,000. But then I went to Long and McQuaid, and I put in an order for a board, and I was going to pick it up the next day. Because
you were actually went to go buy a new board.
Because it's 30-day return policy. And if it wasn't the board, I was going to return it.
Right.
But the only way to know if it's the board is if I return. But then I phone Andrew Stokely, my audio guru who set me up 12.5 years ago. He doesn't answer the phone, but the ring is different. You know when you phone and the ring is different? Like, yo,
is he like overseas or something?
He was on a beach in St. Lucia.
Oh, good
Andrew
for him.
Stokely. But he didn't answer the phone, but he texts me back and he goes, hey, what's up? I'm on a beach in St. Lucia.
Yeah.
And I said, well, enjoy the beach. Don't worry about me. And then I said, but here's the problem I'm having. Okay.
Just in case.
We text back and forth for a while. I tell him what I've done. He says, okay, I'm kicking ass with my troubleshooting. I'm doing a great job. He says, have you reset the board to its factory settings? No. Okay. So
that would be a big pain in the ass, though, right? Because have you customized it a lot or no?
Spending $1,100 on a new board or whatever.
No kidding. Yeah.
Anyway, so I'd spent 4 hours troubleshooting this, and I was working around it. I had to do an episode with Luke Sellers and Gear Joyce, and I had to go another laptop because I couldn't go through this one. It was a whole thing. I'm like MacGyver over here putting together Toronto Mic'd episodes. Long story longer, which is the new expression I'm going to use.
Yeah.
I do the factory reset, fixed it. Okay. So whatever bug, whatever happened was fixed by the factory reset. And that suggestion was put in my head by Andrew Stokely.
He's a good dude.
That's what we're doing here. We're celebrating Andrew Stokely, who was on a beach in St. Lucia.
You know, he does a really good job on Reddit with
just that audio guy or something like that?
Yeah. He does. He like people ask him questions about Jays games and audio and stuff, and he does he's just super responsive, and he's got quite the following there too.
Well, he's good at what he does.
He really is. I saw him in Oshawa when he was doing the world. It was it the Canadian
curling?
Was Canadian Curling Championships or the World Champion? I don't know if the World Championships.
Well, if I'm having the World Championship of curling, I'm doing it in North Oshawa.
It wasn't in North Oshawa. It was downtown Oshawa.
I was in Oshawa last week. Do you know that?
I saw you posted that. I was
on Bloor Street, which I thought was funny.
Oh, that's right down in the south end.
Right off the 401 or whatever. Okay, so James Patterson, we're about to kick ass of our first grievance, Elvis. James Patterson writes in that his grievance is that he has to work today. Boo to that.
Isn't he the guy from Twilight?
There's multiple James Pattersons. I think this guy is not that guy because he has to work today. I don't think the Twilight guy.
Gotcha.
So that's James.
I'm working right now too, actually. I'm technically working.
Well, we're gonna get to that here. I see you have the jacket on here. Did I ever tell you what you're gonna do with your Monera speaker? Did we get distracted?
I'm gonna play it.
You're gonna listen to season 7 of Yes.
Yes. Yeah, you did tell me that.
I did tell you that.
You did tell me
and I gave you that you have more than just the Great Lakes beer that you've popped there. You popped open 2 so far, but you have more going home with you. And I already told you have a Palma Pasta lasagna,
Correct.
right? And I gave you the Ridley Funeral Home measuring
I
tape.
have that.
So one last piece of advice, and then we're gonna kick with this. Recyclemyelectronics.ca. You know how you have a room for Costco purchases?
Yeah.
Do you still have that room?
I still make that joke. I think that was clever.
But do you have a room for old cables, old devices, old?
I wouldn't say a room, but I've definitely got multiple
closets,
multiple Tupperware.
Well, that's why you moved to North Oshawa, right? Like you can be in South Etobicoke and have no closet space.
Correct.
Or you could be in North Oshawa and have fucking rooms for Costco purchases.
Costco purchases and cable Tupperware bins.
If you were king of your life, let's say you move your wife out of this equation, move your kids out of the equation, would you still be in North Oshawa?
No, not right now. No.
Where would you be?
I don't know where I would. That's the
Would you
thing.
be in
I'd probably be
Mimico?
right downtown.
Downtown, okay.
But I don't know about downtown now versus downtown when I live there is different.
The condo prices are dropping.
Yeah, I know, but it's like there's nothing to do downtown at night now.
No?
Right? Isn't it like a
What are you
dead
talking
zone?
about?
It's like dead zone, isn't it?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's what
Lots
people say.
going on. You could go to the distillery district, the home,
That's what I'm
for the
itching.
Christmas
That's what
market.
I'm fucking itching to do.
You could go to Sugar Beach and have
Go to
beers
the-
with me.
Go to the Christmas market.
A lot of people going to the Christmas market tonight. Okay,
Yeah, can't wait.
So James Patterson, he has to work today. Boo to that. Thank you to recyclemyelectronics.ca, Elvis. That's where you go if you have old electronics, old cables. You just say, hey, this is
Cables
my...
even?
Yeah. I just did this because I went to recyclemyelectronics.ca. I just saw Ian Service just did a whole truckload. He's got a lot of big electronical stuff he had to get rid of. I just did this. I went through all my stuff, old laptops, old cables. I put it all in a box. I went to my computer. I went to recyclemyelectronics.ca. I put in my postal code. It said, hey, the Staples near Sherway Gardens will accept that for recyclemyelectronics.ca. I literally brought it all to the Staples. It took me like a minute. I filled in a form, dropped it off.
Nice.
It gets properly recycled so the chemicals don't end up in our landfill.
Beautiful.
Is that amazing or what?
I love it. I love it.
And Recycle
I'm
My
in.
Electronics did something that I appreciate. They signed up for all of 2025.
Already.
I've already
Beauty.
I'm the VP of sales around here.
Beauty. Who was it that you were trying to close on TMLX? Wasn't there someone you were trying to close at TMLX?
Yeah, I'm trying to close a Hollywood suite. His name is David
Oh, yeah,
Kynes.
right. Yes.
And we're close.
I looked into that, and I can't watch it because I don't have cable.
Yeah, I think you can through Amazon. If you have Amazon, do you have Prime?
Yeah.
Like through that.
Oh,
you
I can watch it
you
through
do
that?
through
Oh,
that.
okay,
You subscribe to Hollywood Suite through that. And you
Gotcha.
can get all the Stu Stowe movies you can handle.
I've only ever watched one. I didn't know there was more.
Oh, my God.
And
every year.
I've seen the Dark Side of the Ring. Of
Right.
course.
Well, that's different. That's on Crave, I think. So
Yes.
you gotta
Is
check it out.
he doing more of those? Do you know?
Yeah.
What's the scoop of that?
He's doing another season. Like they commit, I guess, one season at a
Yeah, yeah,
time,
yep.
and he'll 100%.
That's usually
be
how it
more.
works. One
That's
season
how
at a
it
time.
goes. I don't know. I got a whole 12-month booking from the Recycle My Electronics. Okay, I cannot wait any longer. All right, so
The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
Elvis, what's your first grievance?
Whew. I'm looking at 7 here, and I'm trying to figure out where to
Pick
start.
your top 5, big guy.
Do I go heavy or do I go light?
Oh.
I'll go light.
Whoa.
I'll go light.
Okay.
It is ridiculous that every single year, trying to get COVID and flu shots for you and your family is harder to do than getting fucking Taylor Swift tickets. It's unbelievable, both in terms of the way in which you have to sign up and register for them. And then when you show up, specifically at Shoppers Drug Mart, it's like they're fucking surprised that you're there. It's like, what the fuck is going on? And then you wait around for like a half an hour. Well, who knows what the fuck they do. And then like this year, we actually left. We didn't get them done at all at this particular Shoppers because they were morons. And we have like, had better things to do than fucking hang around and wait for, some pharmacy assistant to get their head out of their ass and get it all ready. I don't understand how it is that we live in a world in which we can't easily and quickly get 2 shots every single year. We know what's going to happen every single year. Just get it done nice and easy, in and out, boom. Like it's ridiculous.
Part of my second grievance is a rant on this exact topic.
I don't
just
get
went
it.
through this.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. I've nailed it down. 100% the problem is we have a family doctor.
Yep.
So we make an appointment, and the 2 little ones, for example, who we are responsible for, will go to the family doctor, and the family doctor is like, who wants flu shots? I've got flu shots in my fridge. Who wants one? Do you want one? You want one? Heck, everyone gets one. The kids get a flu shot. But you know what the family doctor can't put in your arm?
What?
The COVID shot.
They can't put a COVID shot in.
No. This is the missing link. Okay, this is a
What the
Doug
fuck?
Ford.
Why
I know.
not?
The
Because
COVID
it's-
shot is you got to go through like a pharmacy, like you mentioned, Shoppers or No Frills,
Or a health
right.
unit
So
or
the
something.
family doctor has got flu shots up the wazoo. Where do you want it? But for the COVID shot, you got to go make an appointment with some kind of Loblaw company or something. Like it's a complete it's somewhere else. Okay, so we have to 2 different chunks. I had to go to Shoppers to get my COVID shot. But while I was there, I'm like, I don't want to do 2 trips. So give me the flu shot while I'm here. Then I'm in the doctor's office, the actual general practitioner, doctor, family doctor, with the 2 little ones. They're getting a quick little yearly checkup or whatever. And she's like, here's your flu shots, but no, you don't get the COVID shot. They can't, the family doctors aren't giving the COVID shot. This is like a Doug Ford government
It's so
thing.
dumb. It's so dumb.
It is, to me,
It really is.
It's part of a rant for my grievance number 2. So we're kind of borrowing here. But it makes no sense that my family doctor can't give me a COVID shot.
It's so dumb. To really dive into it, Shoppers has this really extensive application process to get the appointment. And then when you show up, you give them your health card, and they have to go in and basically put in all of the information again manually. It doesn't.
Oh, they give you the form. I got a form, and I have to fill it out.
Over.
Like, are you?
It's so dumb because I question them. I'm like, what are you doing? Everything's there.
Right.
And I know it's them. It's Shoppers, because I took the family to Costco in the pharmacy, which we don't normally go to.
See, I go to Costco.
We go to Costco all the time, but just not the pharmacy.
Right.
I should now, because we walked in, we said, hey, we have an appointment. They sat us down.
Yep.
Everything was already in the computer.
Just
I got the fucking email from the government saying I had my COVID shot and my kids had their COVID shot before the shot was even in their arm, because they literally did the paperwork and then boom. It was all
100%.
What I filled out, the form itself was a pain in the ass, but I did it all in advance from my home, and then didn't have to sit there while some pharmacist did it again. Shoppers is get the fuck out of my healthcare. Fuck you. Fuck you hard.
Love this grievance. You're and this is the light.
That was the light.
I got to shout out COVID. You know what? I turned 50, so you'll get there in 5 years when you get to turn 50.
Yeah.
How soon before you're celebrating big 50?
Year and a half.
Year and a half. You're almost there. You're catching up. Oh, because my oldest brother, I guess he is my older brother. He turned 48 yesterday, so you're
it's a good vintage.
Similar vintage.
Good
okay.
vintage.
So I had eligible for the Shingrex. It's for shingles vax, but you pay out of pocket.
My mom had shingles, and it was she's still feeling it's brutal.
Well, I made the decision that I will pay out of pocket.
Why do you have to pay for it?
Because it's 65, I think.
But you can get it when you're 50.
You can get it when you're 50, but you got to pay out of pocket. So I don't have. It's funny because my wife works for a big bank. I don't have a fucking drug plan.
Do you mind saying how much it costs?
200 and change. Oh, here's okay. So quick story on this.
It's a big bill.
I line up. And I had to get other pills because I fucking have blood clotting disorder. I'm at Costco down the street from the Great Lakes.
You can get
Brewery.
the shingle shot at Costco.
Yeah, so I go to Costco and I have an actual what do you call it? A prescription. That's what you call it. My doctor's prescription. Hey, I got a prescription for Shingrex, and they're like, okay, do you want us to give you this, and then you have to keep it at this temperature until your doctor puts it in your arm. Right. And then I said to the guy at Costco, I said, well, can't you guys put it in my arm? And he goes, we can put it in your arm, but A, you have to make an appointment, and B, it's $12 for us to put this in your arm. And I said, well, I would pay $12 to not worry about what fucking temperature I've got this thing at for the next 40 hours. I bike it over to fucking my doctor to put it in my arm. I said, I'm already paying 200 and change for this drug. I'm happy to pay $12 for you to put it. So I make an appointment right there. I had to come back the next day. I bike over to Costco, but you're right. Once you have the appointment, very quick, you sit down for about a minute or two. You go in, you get the shot, and it's done. So I have but you get 2, but they're like
6 months apart or something.
Less than that, but 2 to 6 months or something.
Right.
But I have the first shingles vaccine in my arm, Elvis.
Beauty. I love it.
I paid $12 whole so
shingles,
that the person at
you have
Costco,
to pay $12 again, I guess, right?
I guess so, yeah. I guess that's like their charge for sticking a needle in your arm or whatever is $12. So I love your first grievance. It ties in with my second one. That's a spoiler. But you ready for my first grievance? Should I play that stinger before each grievance? Like maybe, do I play this before each grievance or is that too much?
The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances.
Oh, I should have cut it right there.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
All right, my first Grievous.
General Grievous. General Grievous from Star Wars.
James loved those fucking movies. Okay. Spotify. Okay, I'm just going to go off on Spotify for a moment here. In 2024, and to be specific, October 1st, 2024, something started happening in multiples of hundreds, to be quite honest with you.
I'm listening, but I'm going to
you can go. Yeah, Elvis is going to go. I'll give a play-by-play of how strong his stream is in the 2024 Festivus season. In 2024, Spotify is removing episodes of Toronto Mike like it's their job to do so, okay? So I like to have guests return to Toronto Mike to kick out the jams. I've been doing this for many, many years. It was an idea I had on a bike ride when I was literally thinking of a tweet I saw from Mike Wilner. And Mike Wilner tweeted he loved Pearl Jam's 10. And I'm on a bike ride and my brain says, I like Pearl Jam's 10. I'm surprised Mike Wilner likes Pearl Jam's 10. What else does Mike Wilner like? And then I thought, what if Mike Wilner came over and we played his 10 favorite songs of all time and we listened together and we talked about those 10 songs? What does that song mean to Mike Wilner? When did he first hear it? Why did he choose it? And then I could give a little bit of feedback like, I love that song too. Oh, I don't even know that song. This is the first time hearing it. Oh, very interesting that you chose that song. And all this does, these Kick Out the Jams episodes of Toronto Mike, all it does is it makes people like the song more. You heard Mike Wilner kick out Toto's Africa, and you were like, oh, I liked that. I forgot how much I liked Toto's Africa. Then you go stream lots of Toto, and then you discover more Toto. And next thing you know, you're diving deep into Toto. And then you find out members of Toto are going to, I don't know, Casino Niagara or something, or Casino Rama, and you buy tickets to see Toto because you're now all into Toto because Mike Wilner kicked out Africa. This is literally how it works, okay? Maybe you'll buy a Toto t-shirt, and maybe you'll see them every time they come to town, and you'll dive into their catalog, you'll fall in love. This is how it works. Maybe you'll tell 5 of your friends about your love for Toto, and maybe those friends, somebody in that friend group will tell 5 of their friends about this great Toto they discovered, and it's all because Mike Wilner kicked out Africa on Toronto Mike. Well, Spotify's algorithm, it's bought. It detects the use of this song, and I get an email saying you have 48 hours to prove you have the rights to play Toto's Africa, or we're removing the episode. And guess what, Elvis? There is no way that I know of, and I have done extensive research of SOCAN and Alan Cross and everyone in between. There's nowhere I can go to legally, properly play Toto's Africa unless I negotiate with the entertainment lawyers for Toto and the record label and license it like I'm a Netflix show. Elvis, fuck Spotify removing all these episodes of Toronto Mike, and it's literally hundreds of episodes. And if you're a Toronto Mike listener, if you're an FOTM, if you love what you hear right now and you're listening to us on Spotify, get a new app. Change your app.
It's overreach. It's crazy. It's nuts. I mean, like, yeah, I agree with you on this. This is nuts. Good on the yelling too. I like it.
Well, you inspired me. You yell yourself.
This started just this year though?
Well, it was always a threat, and I always knew it existed. When I have a client, I say, don't do it because it's not worth the hassle.
Right.
But I'm the rebel without a cause. I'm breaking the eggs.
How long does an episode usually stay up before it gets taken down?
Sometimes, like nowadays, I know if I dropped an FOTM KOTJ episode in which listeners send in a clip and then they play the song, and it's just like dead on arrival. Okay, DOA, like that guy didn't last more than 48 hours in total. But I got a note today about somebody who kicked out the jams maybe 6 years ago, and it's like, hey, 48 hours and that one's gone, Toronto Mike. It's going. There's a little bit of a spill over here. So, because podcast listeners, in my humble opinion, as a podcasting pioneer, I've decided
the godfather of podcasting,
yes,
I heard
it's
somewhere.
on LinkedIn. You can check it out. You ever been to LinkedIn?
No.
Well, I'm going to talk about that later.
Oh, great.
Podcast listeners have become too reliant on big tech. I'm talking about Apple. I'm talking about Spotify. I'm talking about Amazon. I'm talking about Google. One day, maybe I'll talk about the owners of LinkedIn, Microsoft. Okay, this is big tech. Get yourself a smaller indie podcast app because this is something that I don't think everyone knows. XML. Extensible markup language. It is non-proprietary. It belongs to everybody. It's the democratic, egalitarian beauty of podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Google, Microsoft, they don't own XML. It belongs to us. Therefore, in theory, Ian Service and I can go away and in a couple of weeks launch a new app that will parse an XML file and essentially play a podcast for you. So don't rely on those big tech companies to listen to podcasts. Go find a smaller, independent, indie podcast app, and you won't have this issue.
What should I use?
Well, are you an Apple or Android man?
I'm an Apple person.
Outcast is a good one I hear about. I'm not an Apple guy, but I've heard about this.
Good band too.
Outcast is a great band. Andre 3000, I think he's out doing some new stuff these days. Okay, so that's my message there. Don't use Spotify. It's got to be
really frustrating for you as the godfather of podcasting.
Well, it's like I knew the risks. I knew the risks, but you know what? Spotify people can't hear all of my stuff. Okay. Now I play a game when I kick out a jam, and I've been doing less lately because it's getting in my head. Like, I know I changed my closing theme because it was getting flagged because Rosie and Gray from Shakespeare in My Butt was getting flagged.
Even though they clearly gave you permission, correct?
Yeah, because they've given me permission, but it's like, who owns the song? The thing I get tells me the owner, the labels or whatever that own this thing. It's a whole hassle. I just wish there was a way, like, when you play music on the radio and you go to SoCan and you get a license, and you can I wish there was something globally where I could play like some Bruce Springsteen, or maybe there's even rules. I'd be happy.
You'd have to do logs and stuff because music logs and stuff.
But at least I'd have some. Here's my certificate number, Mr. Spotify, and YouTube does this to me too. That's why I don't live stream on YouTube. It's a pain in the ass. But we do have live.torontomike.com because no one's policing that, and there are many podcast apps that don't give a fuck if I play Bruce Springsteen or Neil Young or whatever. Anyway, that's my first grievance: the fact that Spotify in 2024 has decided to remove hundreds of Toronto Mic'd episodes because yes, I play the Beatles.
It's a good one. That's a good grievance.
Yep, I got 4 more, everybody, so buckle up. Okay. Again, what's our decision? Am I playing that bumper for everyone, or we just go? Just go. Because I could play that for everyone. Sure. There. George Costanza's, Frank Costanza, shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. Go ahead.
My next one is about our good friend Taylor Swift.
My 8-year-old, who I just heard come in, loves Taylor Swift.
And perhaps not the angle that you think I'm going to be taking here, because I'm also a fan of the Buffalo Bills. I do watch football. I enjoy football. And there has been a lot of consternation. Is that a word? That's the word,
That's
right?
a word.
It's been a lot of consternation over the last year or so since Taylor Swift has started dating Travis Kelce from the Kansas City Chiefs. And there are people out there who are seemingly upset about the attention that Taylor Swift, Kelce, and the Chiefs are getting as a result of this romance, whether it be fake or not. You can decide as to whether or not you think it's an authentic relationship.
Whoa.
What drives me bonkers is when people who are fans of sport, like me, like my friends, like sportscasters, both young and old, who get their panties in such a knot because the television cameras show Taylor Swift in a private suite watching her boyfriend play.
Right.
I don't understand this obsession with wanting to hate a pop icon because she is dating some guy who's playing on the field. Of course she's going to go fucking watch her boyfriend play.
Right.
Is it her fault that she is the most popular person on the planet at the moment? No. Is it his fault that he happens to be dating a good-looking woman who's the most popular person on the planet? No. Just let them fucking be.
Is it the network's fault for showing that she's celebrating in the box after the Travis Kelce touchdown?
The goal. What
do you expect them to do?
The goal of a broadcaster is to make compelling content that people will watch or listen to.
Right.
And when you put up Taylor Swift on the screen, even for like those 5 seconds with her, hugging someone's mom or whatever, it's going to bring new viewers. Okay, great. It doesn't affect me in any way.
Yeah, they're not showing Taylor during the play.
Correct. They show old people up in the box all the time.
Right, the owners.
The rumor is that Jerry Jones, who's the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, and Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, they're the primary negotiators with these networks. And the rumor is, the conspiracy theory is that they have it written into the contracts that they have to be shown on TV every time their teams play anyway. So I'd rather look at fucking Taylor Swift celebrating than these fucking old geezers.
Right. I agree with that.
Get over yourself. If you are so upset that Taylor Swift is on TV for 5 seconds while you're watching a football game, you got big problems. You're either a misogynist, I don't know what you are, but it's dumb.
Is it possible? First of all, I agree
cares?
with you. I like your grievance there too, and I agree with you. Is it possible that this has been so politicized because Taylor came out suggesting that her followers, the Swifties, vote for Kamala Harris?
If anything, it got worse because of that,
Right.
because it existed before that. But we all knew
Right.
where she, what side of the fence she stood on anyway, because she endorsed Hillary.
Right.
So I mean, come on, and she endorsed.
But there's a lot of
Biden.
the Trumper contingent, we'll call them, many of whom love their NFL football.
Well, I mean, they call everyone snowflakes, but they're the biggest snowflakes themselves. So shut the fuck up. Just watch the fucking game, and who cares if they show Taylor Swift for 5 seconds. If anything, it means that you can actually watch the game with your wife or your daughters because they're excited to see that.
Right.
But my suspicion is that you don't actually
It's
want
fun,
to do
right,
that.
Elvis? It's
You're
fun.
watching an NFL game to get away from your family because you hate them and you hate your life. So just fuck off.
And they're glad you're doing so because they get a break from you.
Right. But fuck off, seriously. Like, it would be my kids are into games now because they potentially could see Taylor, which is, I'll take it. For any time I have the chance to spend time with my children, I'll take it because it's not something that happens, as often as maybe we'd like, because they grow up and they have their own interests.
That AFC conference final between the Bills and the Chiefs in Kansas City is going to be bananas.
It will be.
And Josh Allen, most exciting player in the game today. Do you agree?
He is. I'm going to the game on Sunday. I'm very excited. They're going to crush the Jets. It's going to be a fun playoff. It really is. Let's go Bills.
Why am I still mad about Doug Flutie getting benched in 2000? The Music City Miracle, everybody, look it up.
There was a lot of.
He's a Trumper too. That Doug Flutie.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's been doing events for Donald Trump.
All these people who just don't want to pay tax.
Wayne Gretzky was partying at the Mar-a-Lago. How do you feel about that?
He was.
I feel like changing my 99 Gretzky sheets. I've had them since I purchased them at the Byway back in 1981.
You're going to pay tax, people. Like, it's the reality of the world in which we live.
Okay, well, let's not make this too political, unless that's a grievance, and then it's all good here. I am going to air my second grievance, and we did touch on it, so I'm going to burn this one right now. But I don't. Okay, so yeah, Mike bikes a lot. Okay, I'm going to hit 14,000 kilometers in 2024. Blah blah blah. Mike bikes every day. Mike also has kids who bike a lot. In fact, my 8-year-old and I still bike to school. We're still going to school and biking.
Oh, that's good. He's 8 and still going to school.
No,
or she.
She's biking to school. Yeah,
she's going to
Don't
school.
misgender Morgan. Come on, Morgan goes both ways. It goes all the ways. Okay, so Doug Ford. They won't dwell on this too much, but Bill 212 passed, and part of Bill 212 means that the provincial government can rip up bike lanes in this city. And I'm just going to air my second grievance as Doug Ford, who's premier. He's not mayor of Toronto, but he is premier of Ontario, removing bike lanes, fucking with Ontario Place, and Ontario Science Center, which is literally now in Sherway Gardens. You're going to see it later today.
Can't wait.
That's where the Ontario Science Center, and when you see it and remember what it was when you went to the Ontario Science Center, your blood will be boiling, okay? Not letting my family doctor give me a COVID shot. My goodness. On Friday, I was visited by Amber Morley, who I quite like, still full of piss and vinegar. She's the counselor for this ward, Ward 3, South Etobicoke Lakeshore. She does not support Bill 212, but she doesn't have to. It's already passed legislation, right? Because they have a majority. But Brad Bradford, as you and I heard when Alan Zweig stormed the table, what did you think when Brad Bradford, so Brad Bradford, much like anyone else who came to that event and wanted on the mic, got on the mic. I said yes to any human being who came to TMLX 17 and wanted on the mic. And of course, I said yes to Brad Bradford. And of course, I just brought up Bill 212 because he supports 212, the ripping up of the bike lanes on York and University and Bloor, which is near where I live. And as we heard at TMLX 17, he supports that. We were talking about it. And that's when Alan Zweig stormed the table and yelled at us. What did you think when you saw this guy running towards the table?
I didn't know what to think. I really didn't. I didn't know what to think.
We haven't talked about this, but we couldn't, because apparently he was yelling from his table.
Could not hear that.
Yes.
Correct.
So
Could not
with
hear
our
that at all.
headphones on, talking to the guests, we don't hear a word from the crowd.
Correct.
I heard the crowd was a little loud, and I'm sorry for that, but we actually are oblivious to that.
Correct. We did not hear that. Plus, we also had level challenges.
Right, because we didn't
with
want
our
feedback
mics.
in the room.
Right.
With Al Greg. Okay. So when he storms the table, it's because he knows we don't hear him, and he wants us basically to shut the fuck up and move on. He doesn't want to hear us talk to Brad Bradford about bike lanes, which is a fair point. A lot of people are like, I agree with the point, but I just didn't want somebody else producing Toronto Mike because literally that's my job.
My initial thought that he was coming up to ask a question or to say something that was unrelated to the conversation, but more about his time, like, hey, Mike, I need to go. Can you get me on soon?
Right.
I thought that's what it was going to be.
Right.
And then when he just started ranting, I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is so cringe.
He's like, stop talking about bike lanes. So I will do that. I'm going to hear him in my head right now. He's living rent free in there right now.
Does he listen to your podcast?
Yeah.
He does.
I get lots of notes from Alan Zweig about episodes. He was one of the guys. He was really angry that I took a turn. And I didn't put this in a grievance because it's not really from this year. But I was really disappointed and hurt by what I saw as intentional deception by Buffy St. Marie.
Right.
And it really, and I just talked about it with an Indigenous man on Toronto Mike the other day, because I will point out I heard that was a great episode. Man. It was a great episode. I am merely a man of Irish descent here. So I was curious for his take on it, and it was very interesting. He wants, not only should she give back her Junos so they can go to people they belong to, they should have gone to, but give back the Order of Canada because she's not Canadian.
Yeah.
Buffy St. Marie, that's a prerequisite. Okay. So Alan Zweig was very upset with us going at Buffy, like, leave her alone. She's done a lot of good. Yeah, she's done a lot of good for the Indigenous community. Okay. So we kind of had it out for a while via email about. I
feel like that's a fair debate, right?
Yeah, sure. But I have the right to be disappointed and hurt by it. And again, all I knew was what I saw in the Fifth Estate. It's not like I had done my own research or whatever. Right. So, but it was compelling, and the Fifth Estate is not Joe Blow's podcast blog. This is a CBC with lawyers going through everything, and they're doing a great job on that. But this is not from 2024. So just 2024, it's the encroachment. It's Doug Ford, who should be focusing on provincial responsibilities like healthcare and education. Those are the two big ones, but there are many, many others, of course. But bike lanes should always be a city's responsibility. This is extremely municipal. So I know Ontario Place belongs to the province. It just happens to be, I'll be beside it today when I go to Sugar Beach. The Science Center, just the bullshit going on there to kind of force the closure. And now it's almost a kiosk in the Sherway Gardens. It's all of this, Doug Ford, and the fact that you stole this thunder, but the fact that I couldn't get a COVID shot for my kids from their family doctor, that is bullshit.
It is.
That's a grievance for you. Okay, buddy, what's your...
Do you think he should buy back the 407?
I think that well, who sold it? Was it Harris's?
It was Harris sold it, yeah.
Yeah,
or leased it. Technically, it's a lease.
And I don't have the name at my disposal, but Ed Keenan, when he comes over every quarter, last time he was over, he explained that there's this science behind, you can add more lanes and then you get alleviation of volume for a very short period of time, and then you're right back where you started. There's some law.
No, the lanes don't. Adding lanes doesn't.
But he wants to add the new highway he wants to build, and then he talks about the tunnel under the 401 and everything.
They say that was a ruse to make the bill for buying back the 407 more palatable. Hey, we can have a tunnel.
You're the driver man. What do you think about, should we buy back the 407?
Well, what we should, in addition to not having tolls, I don't think we should have tolls because it really is an anomaly. It's the only highway that is tolled in the province, so you can make an argument as to why that particular highway should be tolled. I think two things should happen. One is I would be in favor of buying back the 407 and removing the tolls, which I think are, if you can do one of those things, they're not going to do the other. So I think it's sort of dead on arrival. If they do buy it back, I would imagine that they would keep the tolls to pay for the $30 billion that it will cost them or whatever. Right. But I think the more important thing to do would be, even if you don't buy back the 407, which is to implement a rule that was in place back in the 90s, I believe, until they got rid of it. Mike Harris, I think, got rid of it, which is no 18-wheeler trucks on the 401 during business hours, basically.
Right.
And so if you reroute them onto the 407, you can then alleviate a lot of traffic that happens through the core. And
then I could bike the 401.
That's what they should do. Just make the 401 cars only between the hours of, say, I don't know what the hours were. It was, say, 6 to 6, maybe. Whatever the hours were, I can't remember. And that would do a lot of good.
Breaking news from Jeremy Hopkin, who was at TMLX 17 at Palma's Kitchen. He says the TMLX crowd wasn't that loud. He says it just so happens it takes place on top of a very busy store. So basically they're hearing overflow noise from Palma's Kitchen.
Good point. Who was complaining? Who are these fuckers that were complaining? Maybe if you were there, it wouldn't have been.
Maybe it was all.
Was it someone that was there?
Well,
It could have been someone
You
else
couldn't hear it on the recording.
Oh, okay. I
Like
thought
the
it was
recording. Our mics, no.
I thought it was somebody on the recording.
You know how you have to be right on
listening to
these
the
mics.
Right,
You can't hear. You can't hear.
Okay, I can
the crowd.
understand that though. If you were in the room, there were times where you could tell that people were chatting.
Yeah, and that's why. By the way, that's why I have at least 3 TMLX events. Toronto Mike Listener Experience. By the way, I have at least 3 of these events every calendar year, and only one of them is a live recording. The other 2 are what I call hangs. Like, here's a beer, here's some Palma Pasta food. Mingle, hang. That's what it's going to be at Great Lakes Brewery in June, and that's what it's going to be at the GLB Brew Pub in September. Right. And then we'll be back at Palma's Kitchen for another recording. So we're literally down to one such event every year where I record, and that doesn't really lend well to like chatting up other FOTMs you haven't seen in a while. Right. So I understand that. Okay. Your next grievance, Elvis.
Okay, you want to get the song ready?
Yeah, you want to play it right now?
No. Don't play it yet. Okay. I'll let you know. I'll cue you up. Okay. So a friend of mine, with all...
You have a friend?
Yeah. With all good intentions, highlighted this particular song to me. And I guess the song came out, say, 4 or 5 years ago. I wasn't aware of it at all. I didn't follow this artist very much. I really only know one song. They forwarded me the song and they said, hey, I thought you would like this song. And I listened to the song, and it's very beautiful, but it's also incredibly. I don't know if you listened to it before, Mike, or if you listened to it when I sent it to you. But
no, I didn't know the song.
The lyrics are incredibly powerful.
Okay.
And my grievance is that it is a beautiful song, but it is heartbreaking and very challenging to listen to.
Wow.
But I also have this weird obsession of watching reaction videos on YouTube to people watching this video.
I haven't heard this.
It is you only need to play the first verse and then the chorus.
Do you want to watch me react to it? I actually I loaded it up, but I didn't listen.
Okay, it's I cry every.
Can I play it so you can cry again? Oh
yeah.
My God, he's crying right now, everybody. Okay, we got to play this right now.
Before they turn off all the lights, I won't read you your wrongs or your rights. The time has gone. I'll tell you good night, close the door. Tell you I love you once more. The time has gone, so here it is. I'm not your son, you're not my father. We're just two grown men saying goodbye. No need to forgive, no need to forget. I know your mistakes and you know mine. And while you're sleeping, I'll try to make you proud. So it's my turn to chase the monsters away.
So when my father passed, he was in his bed and I went up to him, and I don't know if he heard me or not, but I told him that he was a good dad and I loved him, and he died shortly after. And this song brings me back to that particular time where James Blunt is sort of putting in words that I couldn't, where it was almost like I was telling him that, hey, Pa, I got you. And so my grievance is that I fucking hate this song, and I hate the person who sent it to me, but I also love them, and I love this song too. And so I clearly, still processing my father's passing, even though we weren't. The crazy thing is that we weren't incredibly close, but clearly close enough. And so, this has just been a big part of my life since it was introduced to me about 4 or 5 months ago.
To to chase the monsters away. Sleep a lifetime, yes, and breathe the last word. You can feel my hand on your arm.
If you watch the video, Mike, his sister wrote a poem and he turned it into a song. Their father was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease, and the video is just James singing the song, and then eventually it pans out and his dad is there with him, and that part where it says, "Put your hand on my shoulder," his dad, it was all done in one take and it wasn't scripted, and his dad puts his hands on his shoulder or on his arm. It's a powerful, powerful video as well.
We're just two grown men saying goodbye. No need to forgive, no need to forget. I know your mistakes and you know mine. And while you're sleeping, I'll try to make you proud. So daddy, won't you just close your eyes? Don't be afraid. It's my turn to chase the monsters away. Woo!
All right, first, I'm glad you shared that, buddy, because that's some heavy shit. But there's a catharsis, I think, and you can kind of
Yeah.
channel like how you feel through James Blunt's song.
There's almost like it's almost like I can't stop listening to it sometimes. It's
No, you know what? You ready for this? Again, that's a very personal Elvis story, and wow, very raw and real. But it's actually a lot like what I did last night, because every year since I discovered this as like in my 30s, again, I didn't grow up watching It's a Wonderful Life. I knew about it because Simpsons parodied it. It was everywhere. I know It's a Wonderful Life. I knew the characters. I got the vibe. Never saw it. Like, I'm not gonna watch a
Is
black.
that the
and
one
white.
with the bell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna watch this 1940s black and white thing or whatever. And then I think, what is all the fuss about? Let me just watch this stupid thing. I watched it alone, like I don't know, 10 years ago or something. Every year now, and the kids watch it with me because they're gonna see Daddy cry and they know it. But I think it's the same thing you're getting out of that song, where I can't spoil a fucking movie that's like 80 years old or whatever, but spoiler alert, 1948 this fucking movie came out, okay? Spoiler alert. But at the end, there's the people come together for George, and well, it's really his brother comes in, Harry Bailey, and he says, it's actually your fault because you're crying, but to my brother, the richest man in town. And then, my grievance is that I'm crying on fucking Toronto Mike on December 23rd. That's my grievance. But bottom line, the reason I watch that movie every year is because even though I know it note for note now, I know it note for note. I think it's the best crafted movie I've ever seen. And I'm a Pulp Fiction guy, okay?
Wow.
But I know it note for note, and I know exactly what note's coming when, verbatim. And I know it's coming. It's sort of like Field of Dreams, actually.
Yeah.
I know it's coming, and we get there, and then the bell part is there too, and attaboy Clarence, and I'm bawling. I was bawling last night, and I've seen it now, 10 times, every 10 years in a row. And Jarvis, who's 10, is like beside me cuddling, and he says, "Daddy, I'm crying too." And he was crying too.
That's awesome.
And then you hear that song from James Blunt, because I only know Beautiful. That's my James Blunt. I know
that's
Beautiful.
me too.
And that song, I'm hearing him saying goodbye to his dad, and but I don't know. I'm just glad you shared it, and
it's a big one. Thanks for letting me talk about it. I appreciate it. I can only imagine what, I don't know. The chat's either gone silent or they're like, you guys are a bunch of fucking
I'm afraid to
idiots.
look, actually. But I mean, it's all, real and.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, I'm just thinking now I got to segue over to another event. So as I collect myself.
I bought a pack of M&Ms and they're all fucking brown.
Wow.
I know. I should have left that for last.
No, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. That was a closer. Blunt is for closers only. You know that, okay? So now I'm gonna totally change. It's funny because I'm drinking a Burst. I love Burst. IPAs. Am I less of a man if I drink IPAs? Be honest with me.
No. Why would you say that? The problem with IPAs is that some breweries go way crazy and be like, let's make it the most sour, highest alcohol content that we possibly can. And it's just not a beer anymore. It's like a
Right, it's like
It's
an
a fruit
RTA
juice.
or whatever that's called, the ready to RTD or whatever. But okay, so I enjoy the burst, and I'm bringing some to. We're gonna drink a beer of Cam Gordon at Sugar Beach. I'm gonna bike over because the snow apparently doesn't come till 4, so I'm gonna try to get this ride in before 4. And you'll be home by 4. Although we dwell on that James Blunt song, you might have to tell the family you'll be home later than 4. Okay, so my grievance number 3. So we each have 5 grievances, just to reset here. It's about Twitter. So Twitter is where Cam Gordon was the director of communications for Twitter Canada when I met him, and I used to love this app. So with all due respect to the very respectable and lovely LinkedIn, okay, Twitter was my social media platform of choice. Like for 15 years, I would check Twitter several times a day. I tweeted tens of thousands of times. It just suited the way my brain works. It's like this stream of consciousness snippets, and it was easy to share. It was like, okay, this is how my brain works. This is how my things flow through my fingertips or whatever. Twitter matched it up pretty perfect, and I kind of curated this following list and then totally dug that app for 15 years. And only app I enjoyed checking, actually, and I checked it multiple times a day. Again, for 15 years. And then Elon Musk bought Twitter, and now here we are a couple years later. First thing I think on Elon Musk's to-do list when he bought Twitter was fire Cam Gordon. I think that was number 1, and then he went from there. But now I hate fucking logging in. So you're like, Mike, you can delete that account, and you're 100% right. But now I check 2 places on Twitter once a day. I check DMs, because people are still using it like an email or whatever, and I check my DMs, and they're open. And I check my mentions, because people ask me questions, and I guess I reply to them or whatever. So I check DMs and mentions, but I miss the Twitter of 10 years ago, where I enjoyed, my actual feed. Blue Sky is where I'm hanging these days, and it's pretty sweet, but it's got a bit of that vibe, and I'm digging it for sure, and I'm on it multiple times a day. But it's still missing some of those key voices that it was like we all had this town hall where we're all meeting in the same place for a while, and then it all got fucked up. So my grievance, I suppose, after all that, is how this Nazi sympathizer Elon Musk has fucked up my Twitter, and shout out to FOTM Hall of Famer Cam Gordon. Time for you to respond. What's with the dead air here, Elvis? You still crying?
Well,
over
I
there?
know
Come
I
on.
didn't know what you wanted me to say.
Do you think
there.
in the 80s, because I had this chat yesterday, in the 80s, if you were crying about a song, do you think some guy would just tell you to suck it up, Buttercup? Like,
Yeah.
That's 100% what happened in the 80s. We came of
100%.
age in an age where, like, you're crying over a fucking song?
Yeah, there's
Man
no
up,
crying.
man.
There's no crying.
Where's, no crying.
The demise of Twitter is. I wasn't on it. I was on it before, but it's
You
been
quit before
it's
it was
been
cool to
years
quit.
and years and years and years. The whole thing is. I mean, it just like the conversation around oligarchs. Is that the word? Right? It's oligarchs.
100%,
right?
yeah.
Is it's real and it's scary, right? Like legit that.
A billionaire, unelected billionaire is going to run that country.
Yeah, and I think the best thing we can do is keep calling him president because it'll piss off Trump so much that he'll. I mean, the whole
Imagine
thing.
that's your strategy.
The whole thing is going to go up in flames anyway. It's going to end in a disaster. Have you talked to Cam on the podcast about the demise of Twitter?
I'm sure I have, because he's been on many times since then. I cannot remember any specifics, except that he saw it coming.
Is he
I
sad?
was with him the night he got the email. So he was at a Stu Stone movie premiere. It was Vandits, as I recall. And we were watching the premiere at the Scotiabank Theater downtown. And we had a little dinner thing beforehand. We all, a bunch of FOTMs met up before this movie. And that night at midnight, he got the email, basically, your services are no longer required.
Right.
Whatever.
Here's your package.
Yeah,
and
whatever.
blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. And he was not blindsided because everybody in Twitter Canada knew that
was over.
Elon was good. Remember, Cam was literally replaced by a shit emoji. Like, so when you write for a media, somebody, he was a media guy. So
Right.
now when you would write for a Twitter Canada, whatever, can we get somebody to respond to this story, or can we get a quote about this? Can we talk to someone about this? It's just an auto reply with a shit emoji. Like, so Cam Gordon was replaced by the shit
crazy.
emoji. I know.
It's crazy. My buddy was the head of Twitter Canada for a while, and he was like, I remember talking to him, not about this, but about Twitter in general, and he was like just so high on it. The possibilities that he and everyone else there sort of envisioned for this was even though I didn't necessarily see it or agree with it because I wasn't on it, but it's sad.
Yeah, so here we are now. Because what I do is I post on Blue Sky, but if it's a promotional tweet like, oh, the Elvis episode, Festivus episode just dropped. Here's the link, right?
Right.
That I copy and paste what I put on Blue Sky. Literally, Control A, Control C, and then on Twitter I Control V. Yeah. It's like I do it every day. Whatever. And then that is my post. That is it. So there's nothing or no original content on Twitter. I just copy and paste what's over there because there's still people following me. I'm just promoting shit over there. But if I ever log in, if I even now when I look at these mentions, soon I'll stop looking at my mentions because there's always just the rudest, most hateful. Like everyone just wants to rile you up for a fight. It's almost like a rage farm. It's like the purpose of
That's not healthy.
It's not only is it not healthy. It just sucks so bad. So you're right. I'm opting in to still check my mentions. At some point I'll drop that too. But it fucking sucks. Blue Sky is where I enjoy that the most of all the social media apps right now. There's still missing some key voices, but we're getting there. And fuck Twitter and fuck Elon Musk, and that's my third grievance.
I'm into it.
All right, what is your fourth grievance?
Can we move quicker too? Can I ask? Is that rude?
Okay, burn. No, burn.
Yeah,
you can burn.
Burn. What does that mean? Burn.
Burn means go fast.
This one is cheap, but as a 48-year-old, I'm tired. I'm really tired.
Right.
I'm tired of being a Toronto sports fan because my heart and I'll add Buffalo in there too because just I've been a fan with them.
And they've
since
never won the
forever.
Super Bowl.
Correct. It's just tiring to see the same thing over and over again, like the debacle that is the Toronto Blue Jays when 4 years ago, so much promise. We should have been in the playoffs.
Shitstorm.
Like I remember we won and we were so excited and it was like depending on the outcome of another game and they flipped over and then it was like a home run and it was over in 7 seconds. It was brutal. And, the Leafs, it's just like, let's run it out again. And,
Right.
Brad and Craig are now in charge. Like, who the fuck cares? And Shanahan has no plan. There's no Shana plan. There's nothing. And, Raptors are, they're in a rebuild. I guess there's promise there. They're in a rebuild, but it's exhausting.
5 years away
and
from
then
the
TFC
flag, though.
is just so, they're in the mess. They have the second or third highest payroll in the league, and they're like the worst team. Like, it's just horror. It's exhausting. And so I don't know if it's because I'm just old and I'm like yelling at the clouds like the guy in The Simpsons or
Abe Simpson.
It's just like it's enough. Like try enough. And then I mentioned my daughter dances for the Raptors. For my wife and I to go to one of these games to watch her, and we're sitting in like literally 3 rows from the back.
Right.
It's costing us $100 a ticket.
Right.
Like what the fuck? This is insane.
Right.
Like just end it. It's over.
Right.
Like stop. But I'm an idiot. The real grievance is me because I'm the idiot because I still fucking watch and I follow and
But as much as you used to?
I mean, no, I don't watch like as many. I watch like playoffs, right?
Yeah, me too.
And I'll watch like
Which means very few Toronto games.
It's enough. Like it's just tiresome. And don't give me the bullshit like go follow another team because it's you can only one team can win.
Right.
But this is worse because it's just
also, I like rooting for home teams because when you win in 2019, there's a fucking parade of a million people and you're part of it.
There's like not it's enough. It's
so
enough.
we are going to go quicker for these last couple because you got to get out of here. I'm just going to say I agree 100%. I'm a Toronto sports fan and it sucks. And there's only one good regular season team and there's really no good playoff. So the Leafs are a pretty good regular season team.
Yeah.
And
But
they've only won one round in the last 10 years.
I really who cares about winning games in February?
But I think the Jays, the Jays are going to be complete shit in 2025. I think they could be terrible. I think they're going to be a lot like last year, which was terrible.
If not 2025, definitely 2026, because Bo and Vladdy will be gone. So Vladdy might have a good season, may not, but I would imagine he would because he's out of here. Bo will probably have a good season because
I thought Shatkins might be your one of your grievances.
I mean that whole thing is just it's brutal.
Go Cleveland. Okay, so we're gonna move quickly here. I'm gonna kick out my fourth grievance here, and I will do this succinctly. Elvis is going for his second P. Is that the second P? Okay, I'm gonna keep chiming here. You can do your P.
I know, but I want to hear you.
Okay. Then you're gonna have to be. You should go now. So then I'll do it real quick here, but. Let's say you produce podcasts for a living. So I produce Toronto Mic'd and I produce podcasts for other people. If anybody out there wants a podcast, give me a shout. Mike@torontomike.com. We can talk about it on Zoom, or we can meet for a coffee, or we can meet for a Great Lakes beer, and we can discuss it. I love having these chats, regardless of whether you do anything with me. I enjoy meeting new people and having these conversations here. So let's say you birthday podcast with somebody. I won't name names in this little spiel here, by the way. And you have this kind of really cool idea, and you record a whole whack of content to put together, let's say 11 episodes or so. And then 50% of this duo that you're recording with this really cool premise, at least I thought it was a cool premise, 50% of the cast bails. So you got 11 episodes in the can, but 50% of the cast, one of the members decides, I'm out, I can't do this, and there's a whole wild reason here, but I won't get too tabloidy here. But you're fucked because you got these 11 episodes in the can and you're not allowed to drop them because 50% of the cast is bailed. And now out of this, you're actually literally getting dragged in the tabloids like people.com, and people are like, oh my goodness, they referenced you in this tabloid article. My goodness gracious, me, Toronto Mike. Wow. So now you need to pivot with your one of the clients who has remained with you, and you're going to reposition this podcast, and you're going to have a different angle, a different vibe. But you do this together. Like, you work really hard to get a new angle for the podcast. You actually get this podcast to #1 for its category in Apple Podcasts. And then you get news, and again, nicely delivered via email by somebody you really legitimately like as a human being. So I don't even want to name names or crap on anyone specifically. But you're basically told, I'm leaving you for Jan Arden, essentially was the message I got here. And now this podcast you birthed and worked years on with the pivot and the tabloid dragging, getting it to #1, finally getting a voice with some reality TV heat, is literally just gone. Like, now it's, hey, thanks for doing all that work for years. We'll take it from here. And it's gone. And my grievance is that business is never personal. And that was a business decision, regardless of whether I understand it or think it was appropriate. But it's impossible when you're a one-man shop at TMDS to remove business from personal, because you become friends when you work closely on something, and then you realize, oh, there's no reason they have to stay with you. They can go to Jan Arden if they want. And that's what happened. And that's my fourth grievance. Elvis.
Does she have a podcast network?
Yeah, with a woman named Sarah Burke. She has a network. Yes.
Gotcha.
So Sarah Burke is like
Sarah Burke is the
yeah, she'd be the technical person, or I don't know if she's technical or not, but she's like the producer, and then Jan works closely with Sarah on the Jan podcast, and then they like to bring in other women podcasts. Like, it's really a woman network.
Gotcha. So they have like a network of podcasts.
And then this person would leave me for her, basically. And then for me, on my end, it's literally like a redirect of the we talked about the XML earlier. You just redirect it to the new feed, and now that everyone subscribed to your feed that you're hosting is now going to be picking up files on the other service, and that's it.
So when that moves over, like, you don't have to resubscribe, right? You're just
because you just redirect the feed, so you don't have to the end user would be none the wiser, I suppose, unless it's referenced.
Was
on
it
the show
handled professionally?
Well, I got a nice email to say this is the difficult decision, and I love you, but I'm doing this. Please redirect this feed to this new home, and that was it. And then I said, yeah, no harm, no foul. If she called me today, I'd have a nice chat with her. I'm not actually mad at her. It's just sort of this reality that, like, I'm not a big agency,
right?
Like, TMDS is one guy, and he does his best and becomes friends with his clients, and then I have to remind myself that other than Toronto Mike, these shows are not mine. Like, I don't own these shows. I literally help people with their shows. And it's kind of a good reminder that, they aren't your children.
So the grievance
they can
is...
leave you.
The grievance is...
The grievance is the grievance specifically is having birthday podcast and then having dealt with 50% of the cast bailing with kind of a sensational reason, and then having yourself dragged in the tabloids, and then pivoting and then getting it to #1 after many years, and then being dumped to move it over.
It's
that's the grievance.
All the stuff that went into the
it was
podcast
not your
I mentioned.
typical podcast. It was a lot of pivots. That's my word of the
pivots.
A lot of pivots, and a lot of evolving, and a lot of shit happened there. And again, the tabloid dragging, that's a first for me, and it might be a last for me, because the tabloids aren't interested in me. But there you go. And now, because we're cooking with gas, your final.
This is my final
Elvis,
one.
And then I got one more short one to end with.
This is my final one. So I started working at my employer 13 and a half years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And a week before I started, I started.
It's a long time, by the way.
Yeah, 13 and a half years is a long time. When I started, my onboarding was a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that was put on my desk, and I was given a laptop and a monitor, keyboard, and a mouse that I had to set up myself. It was very bootstrappy. It was a crazy, crazy time in our industry that had just been birthed, basically. And a woman started a week before I did and had come from a same type of background that I did, in the sense that we were both recruiters hired to do this new job that didn't exist until we knew it existed, because they hired us to do it. And she was in New York City, and we formed a friendship that lasted 13 and a half years. Until, I guess it's technically not over, but until Monday. My best, I hate the term work wife. I think it's stupid and it's insulting to my real wife. But if I ever were to have a work wife, it would be Maria. And I'm having a real tough time with it because Maria passed away on Monday from cancer. Of course, she had a multi-year battle with this, up and down, and we would text each other all the time, and it was like stupid stuff. We had a great relationship. We shared a stage at our customer conference for 7 years in a row. We were the hit of the show, and I don't say that to just be braggadocious, because our NPS score showed us that we were the best. We were the highest rated talk that we had at that event for 7 years in a row, and only got retired because of COVID. They brought us back after COVID for one final go in 2022, and that was the last time I saw her in person, was 22. But we kept in, of course, we were super close and kept in touch, and her text messages back stopped in about October. I knew something was up. I knew that she was back in the hospital, and she would only heart or thumbs up my messages. She would stop replying to them, and then found out that she passed away on Monday. And so me and two other colleagues who had been there for a long time, they don't work at the company anymore, we created a list of like 300 people, maybe not 300, say like 150 people that hadn't worked there in a while but knew her and would want to know from someone other than just like a post or an email. And so I spent all day Tuesday and Wednesday calling people that I hadn't talked to in years and years and years, and just telling them that Maria had passed away. And so I hate to do this twice on your show, Mike. I really do, because it's supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be we laugh and we have a good time. 2024 has probably been the worst year of my life for all sorts of reasons beyond what I talked about here. And I just want to say, fuck cancer. And I can't wait for the turn of the year to come around. And I miss you a lot, Maria. I'm sorry.
My condolences, buddy. Maria, wow. You know, now I don't even know what the point is of me airing this fifth grievance, because you went heavier than I anticipated.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. You had a rough 2024, eh? Because I saw you, of course, I saw you at TMLX 19. So when you got the call to co-host TMLX 17, did you ever think twice? Like, were you in from the get-go? Like,
No. No.
So were you gonna say no?
Yeah, but I didn't know how to say. I didn't know how to say no, for one.
Fewer called to serve.
Forget about the TMU and all that stuff. I wouldn't know how to say no to you, because I know that it's fun, right? And clearly you're asking me for a reason beyond just us being friendly and stuff. So yeah, I didn't know what to say, but
you did eventually say yes.
Of course, I'm going to say yes, because we're friends, and like, of course, I want to. If it's going to help you to be on the show, then I'll be on the show. Hey, Jarvis.
Jarvis just made a camera. Jarvis is walking through.
Is that Jarvis's room now?
No, no.
No, that's sold.
He's getting the Nintendo Switch. That's in there. Okay.
So of course I'm going to say yes, but I definitely had to think about
But
it.
how rough was 2024? Because you seemed in good spirits. Every time you
put on a good show.
You laugh at my jokes, which is most important to me. And then here you are again. You didn't miss Festivus, so that's twice now in the past month we've been hanging out here. Again, we have geography issues. You're in North Oshawa, man.
There's a sense of
let's move to South Etobicoke, and I'll see you every weekend.
Sense of I guess I crave a little bit of normalcy in what has been a crazy year. So.
And it's a reminder that you don't know what people are going through, right? Like I think
everyone's got their
happy-go-lucky Elvis is, he's got the great families in North Oshawa. He's running LinkedIn or whatever. I can't remember where you work. It doesn't matter. I'll fix it in post. But the bottom line is, it sounds like you had a rough year and you survived cancer.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about that on the way here. I was like, do I say that and like get called out on it because I've
I'm not gonna call you out. You can speak to what's your worst year.
I don't want to be overly dramatic, but yeah, looking back at it, and everyone has their own shit. I'm not looking for pity or anything like that, but just like it's looking. I think it's also silly to be like something's like the turn of the year is going to make a difference or what, because it's just a fucking calendar. Who cares? But I think symbolically it'll be helpful to see 2024 go by the wayside.
See, I don't know how to follow that up.
You're not going to do.
Well,
Why
I'll do
aren't you
one.
gonna
It'll
do
be
yours?
one line. It'll be. I realize I can't actually follow that up with my grievance, but I will do a fifth grievance because I'm contractually obligated to do 5. All right. So, all right. So Elvis, I turned 50.
Yeah.
And it was TMLX 15, which was amazing. At Great Lakes Brewery, you couldn't make it because you were out of town or something like that. They
The
took you on
one trip
road.
I had this year.
Oh yeah. And then wonderfully, FOTMs like you contributed to a kayak and more, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
You hate it.
I know, I love it actually. Follow me on Strava. You'll see I'm doing my kayak trips.
I hear you about it. I hear you talking about it.
But so I turned 50, and I still feel good. I'm about to go on a bike ride. I actually feel great. But what's happened literally since I turned 50, it was almost like that next week. My eyesight started to deteriorate. Okay, so here's my grievance. So here, hold on.
You're an old man.
So,
you got glasses.
Yeah.
What do you need them for?
Literally, when I work on the laptop, when I'm on the laptop, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't need it. I never wear it unless when I'm working on the laptop. I'm working away, and 5s look like 6s, and I'm doing the George Costanza squint. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, I can read it with the squint, whatever. But when I throw in the glasses, it actually focuses. Like, I guess that's what glasses do.
Yeah.
Do you
can
ever
see
wear
better.
glasses?
I wear contacts
you
all
wear
day.
contacts
every day.
right
I'm
now?
wearing contacts right now.
Okay,
yeah.
so I got. I guess the positive side is I got 50 years with my natural vision being A-okay, but in my 50th year, my eyesight has plummeted. It seemed like it plummeted almost overnight, and now I can't even do computer work without throwing on the glasses. So my grievance is that you get 50. I mean, some people get less than 50. I understand. I'm lucky to get 50 years, but you get 50 years out of these eyeballs, and then they go to shit, and then you need to wear something on your head just so you can do your work.
I go to the doctor every year for like a checkup, and I know people don't normally do that, but I do because of my past history. And something happened around,
I do that, by the way.
I can't even remember what it was, but it was like when I turned 40, I complained about something to my doctor, and her response was, well, you're 40 now.
Right.
And I'm like, that's so arbitrary. That can't be true. And she's like, it is true. You turn 40 and your body starts to change. I'm like, motherfucker.
Motherfucker,
and I guess the same thing would happen at 50.
And happy Festivus to you, Elvis. This was another great
Happy
Festivus.
Festivus,
You got to
Mike.
come back in 2025.
Of course, I'll be back.
Festivus won't be the same unless Elvis is in the basement. And that brings us to our 1,606th show. Go to TorontoMike.com for all your Toronto Mike needs. And I'm on Blue Sky at Toronto Mike. Follow me there. Actually, it's at TorontoMike.com because Ian Service told me to make it my domain name, so you know it's the real me. So follow at TorontoMike.com on Blue Sky. Much love to all who made this possible. That's Great Lakes Brewery. That's Palma Pasta. That's RecycleMyElectronics.ca. That's Moneris. That's Ridley Funeral Home. Much love to all the FOTMs listening. Happy Festivus, everybody! Do you recognize the song, Elvis?
This is the new.
Rob Bruce made this.
Yeah, I heard it.
I
at,
unmuted you so we can hear your reaction.
I heard it at.
Oh yeah, TMLX. Romantic traffic, buddy. I hope you don't get any on your way back to North Oshawa.